105.7 FM and AM 950. The Fan, Rochester, an Odyssey sports station.
It's time to start the show and talk about the sports we saw. Inside jokes and takes from Danger and Battaglia. Bills and the Sabres and the Amherst. Who gave a microphone to these jerks? G's a big timer, a social misfit. Clueless to the title of the biggest buskeg hits. Chuck Munchie's goons have the last say. So thanks for your time, Mr. Mayo. Danger likes his cold ones and he likes his bears. But this is Rochester, cute Francesa.
Oh, who cares?
He's critical of Sean, he's critical of Al. And of course he married Sandy, cause she's Italian. Welcome to the sports bar, that's where you are. Welcome to the sports bar, that's where you are. Welcome to the sports bar, that's where you are. With Danger and Battaglia.
Finishing the month of October strong. Just strong.
Are we having candy power rankings today, Danger? That's become the tradition. Or is that tomorrow?
I think it's tomorrow.
It's tomorrow.
Because
right.
tomorrow, breaking news in the sports bar. I've got some breaking Halloween news.
Ow! 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 It really hit me. I didn't know it was coming back that far.
And we welcome you into the sports bar, by the way. Thank you for listening at 95.7 FM, AM 950, The Fan Rochester, and the free-to-download Odyssey app. And a special shout-out to everybody watching the sports bar on our YouTube channel at The Fan Rochester and on Twitch at The Fan Rochester. If you're new to the show, when news breaks, we have that sounder of legendary Yankees Hall of Famer John Sterling getting clocked by a foul ball. He was okay. He's okay. God bless that man. And that's our breaking news. Breaking Halloween news. I come home last night after the show. Mm-hmm. I look on the dining room table right next to the front door where candy will be distributed tomorrow night. Full-size candy bars.
No, wait a second.
Full-size candy bars. The person I'm worried about offending the most, believe it or not, with this power move that my wife has pulled off, is your better-looking, more successful brother, Kevin, who is the chief, if I'm not mistaken, North Greece Fire Department. Traditionally,
you just pulled a McDermott. You knew he was the chief.
I didn't want to screw up his title, but I thought he was the chief.
He's the chief, yeah.
Traditionally, the fire truck comes through the neighborhood, and it's a rush of kids to the fire truck because the fire truck's always handing out the free candy bars. I'm not trying to one-up your better-looking, more successful brother, Kevin, with this move. But I feel pretty good about this move.
Well, what you brought up yesterday with Mike Leone, and Mike Leone is on the full bar, bandwagon too, and good for him. If you go to Coach Leone's house tomorrow night, you're going to get the full bar. His wife really does up Halloween, the Amherst head coach. It's cheaper to buy the full bar than it is like a bag. I find that hard to believe, Danger.
I think you can get the full bars in bulk, just like you buy bags in bulk. And what you might find in doing so is that it might actually be more cost-effective to buy the appropriate amount of full-size treats rather than the giant feed bags of fun-size treats. And eventually, what are you left with? This is the thing that drives me nuts year in and year out. You're left with a bag or two of fun-size treats that I don't want in the house. I have no willpower. I will eat all of that candy, get it out of here, return it to the point of purchase if you need to. I don't even know if you can return Halloween candy. I don't want it. So I'm thinking if we're giving out full-size bars, less waste, which I'm a big fan of. I don't want to waste anything. Give it to the kids. Let them have fun. And the only thing that has me concerned is that our house gets egged, not by kids, but by the other parents in the neighborhood who are upset that we're handing out that we're setting such a prestigious standard in the neighborhood.
I would have another concern. Like, what if, I don't know, somebody came up and ding dong, that's a big looking kid there, dressed as Grimace.
I'd be like, we're at Yankees' house tonight.
Would you be wondering, like, is this really a kid, or is this my co-host trying to scam on get full candy bars here?
No, you wouldn't do that. You would send your young adult son to the front door to do your dirty work for you. Kyle, go get a full-size candy bar. And while you're at it, go over to Uncle Kevin's house and get a full-size candy bar from him, too. He's the one driving the fire truck through the neighborhood.
We're not doing the full-size candy, but I'm never going to go just one. I'll do, like, okay, a couple, or let you pick a couple, if I'm at the door there. And I don't like to be the ones where, oh, hey, we're not home, but help yourself kind of thing. That's not,
Yeah. No, I'm with you. Usually I get relegated to going out with the kids, and now my kids are, I kind of miss it. The kids are old, and one's 20, one's 15. The 15-year-old Lexi's going trick-or-treating with some of her friends. I don't think she's in our neighborhood, but they don't need parental supervision, and if they have it, it's going to be with her friends' parents in another neighborhood and not with me. So this might be the first time in a long while that I've been tasked with candy distribution, and I'm feeling pretty good about handing out the full-size candy bars for the first time ever in our house.
Well, the weather is exquisite today. It's going to be the same tomorrow. 76 tomorrow, which, I don't know, when you were a kid, wasn't that fun? Like, hey, we're going to beat our own record. And then, we're going to beat our record from last year. And then you're just going to try to stay out as long as you could.
Weather is a factor.
Yeah.
The elements are a factor.
Yeah.
If you've got good weather like you have tomorrow night, I'm expecting a massive haul. Stay out. Stay out as long as it takes. Break records and come home with a massive haul.
I'm trying to figure out, do I want to go just the kind route and a few IPAs, or am I going the boxed wine route? Yes, it's a Thursday, not typically, I'm normally reserved for the weekends, but it's Halloween, right? Like you can put the drink down when the kids are coming up.
Difference between you and me, you're looking for excuses like, oh, it's the week. I probably during the weeknight. For me, I don't need an excuse. What day is it? Oh, today is Wednesday. Okay, what are we having? What do we got? Oh, we have an IPA from our friends at Three Heads. Yeah, okay. Well, maybe a glass of brown. Maybe I'll pour a little brown liquid tonight. Boxed wine? Sure. We'll mix in a glass of boxed wine as well.
Well, I live under different circumstances in the evening, Danger. The executive producer might be looking at me like, really? Like,
you're getting judged.
Yeah, I get judged constantly. I get judged on the show. I get a grade when I come home.
This explains a lot.
Yeah.
This explains a lot. We have to remove this judgment, this cloud of judgment over you, and allow the true Gene Battaglia to come out. Gene Battaglia, who was free of all judgment this past weekend, the weekend of Gene. How did that feel? That had to have felt liberating.
It was great. I kept the house cold and dark the way I like it. Beasley seemed
cold and dark like your soul.
Yeah, and just you stayed up very late on Saturday just watching sports.
Yeah,
not. I know. I lead a wild life there.
I don't want to tip my hat with the power rankings, the candy power rankings. We'll do them tomorrow, but there was a little packet in my travels today of Nerds clusters that just about knocked me on my ass. They were fantastic. I'm a sugar guy more than I am a chocolate guy. So in my power rankings, they're going to be slightly skewed. The sugar stuff is going to always trump the peanut butter cups or the Snickers bars. Almond Joy by Mike Leone. Yes, he put Almond Joy in his power rankings. Almond Joy? That's disgusting. What are we doing with that?
Almond Joy is the menthol cigarette of candy. Like, you like it, and no one's going to bum one off you. So it's,
there's a strategy there. Yeah, okay. I'm like Eddie Murphy and I'm pointing at my head. You see how that works? Well, we're excited. And like I said, it feels like the month is ending so strong. I can't believe it's the end of October. I can't believe we have all of this action and this unbelievable weather to boot. I'm excited for tonight because I'm getting extra time in the garage, in the garagio, the screening garage. I was hearing it. I was hearing it at home. When are you going to put all that furniture away? When can we start parking our cars in the garage again? I said, not so fast. Not so fast. Just wait.
It wasn't a matter of you being lazy, not wanting to do the work, procrastinating. You knew we would have nice weather.
I was holding out hope. Yeah. I'm like, let me get through the World Series. Let's see if we can get through the World Series.
Let's get to daylight savings first.
Let's get to daylight savings is good.
That's what I always like. Okay, daylight savings means, all right, you're kind of limited in your grilling, but we're not there yet, so Tonight is elite. Go in the garage, tonight.
Absolutely.
Yeah, this is fantastic here. And yes, we do get a Game 5 tonight, and maybe the Dodgers finish this off tonight. Certainly, it has been a wealth of sports talk content today. What happened last night? We welcome your calls at 866-4FAN, 866-432.
All right, before we get to last night's festivities at Yankee Stadium, let's set the table here. We're going to talk to Cover One's Greg Thompson. He joins us at 4:25. And there's some interesting things to note here with the Buffalo Bills, and I'm glad we have Greg on today. We've talked a little bit this week on the heels of the performance of James Cook in Seattle. I keep thinking to myself, is this going to be the player that alters the Bills' positional value strategy? Will they eventually say, we're going to pay a running back because he is elite at his position?
Or is he elite? Honestly, or could you get somebody that would be the same production? I think that we still have some time, mind you, but
of course.
When you look at what's coming up next, we know the next guy up is going to be Rousseau because they use the fifth-year tender, and you really don't want him going into a year 5 if he's doing. At some point this offseason, you would figure they sit down, but then one after that. It's the draft class where your first-round pick. Sounds mean to call him a bust, but you're not using the 5th-round tender on Kyrie Elam. But holy cow, look at everything else in that class. You look at Terrell Bernard. You look at Christian Benford. You look at Khalil Shakir. This is the core that is winning games for Buffalo. Yes, it's Josh Allen. He's fantastic, but it's this young core. So Cook is part of that. But Danger, I'm looking at the pecking order. I'm like, he's 4th on the list. I'm sorry. Greg Thompson, who is with Cover One, and he's their capologist. Yeah. We're going to bring him on today and talk about that, and certainly get his thoughts on the Miami Dolphins. And, is there anything to be worried about this coming Sunday?
Well, I think when we have him on, we have two things we can also discuss. We're not just roster management of the future with all of these star players that the Bills are going to have to take care of, but what about the immediate future, the trade deadline on Tuesday? And if I'm not mistaken, right now, as it stands, I think the Bills are at 52 men on their roster.
Yes, but that's Von Miller coming back.
But is there an exemption to Von Miller that they can use?
There is if they don't activate him. But the assumption is, okay, he's here, and he could get 1 week of working out and everything else. So it's a little bit of a loophole, Danger, but there's nothing.
I'm just wondering if Brandon Beane is doing some work in the lab.
Oh, I think the ship has sailed for the Dolphins here as far as who you might trade and get in that 53rd spot this week. 1 practice is in the books; they'll have 2 more. So if they made that trade yesterday, sure. But when we get to next Tuesday. And some people will be like, oh, my next Tuesday, let me talk. No, we're going to talk at the trade deadline next Tuesday. That's all we care about here in the sports bar. That is what next Tuesday is about. What do the Bills do? Or are they going to just sit pat? Stand pat, as I'm mixing my metaphors. Honestly, I don't know. That's why we're bringing on Greg today, another reason. And last year, we didn't think the Bills would do anything. And voila, they came up with a pretty decent corner, too.
Russell Douglas, yeah.
Russell Douglas for virtually nothing.
We'll also be joined later on this hour. Give us about 10 minutes or so, and the host of BetQL's Send It In will be stopping by. That's PJ Glasser, Odyssey Sports Betting Insider, and Insider Calls are presented by BetMGM. Go check out all the latest lines today on the BetMGM app. There's no shortage of action, of course, in college and pro football this weekend, and PJ is going to help us make some money. His thoughts on Ohio State, Penn State, Bills, Dolphins, Lions, Packers. We'll get his takes and his leans on the biggest matchups this weekend in college and pro football. That's PJ Glasser at 325.
To me, PJ Glasser, that is just the appetizer for the weekend. It's oh, hey, here it comes. And, this is the week we get Penn State, Ohio State, or finally the Nittany Lions going to get over. We'll talk to PJ coming up here shortly.
We also have a couple of chances for you this afternoon to win free tickets to see Dweezil Zappa. That's Frank Zappa's kid. Remember Dweezil Zappa from the 80s? Dude is a killer guitar player. He's coming to Kodak Center on April 15th, 2025. And tickets go on sale this coming Friday, 10 a.m. You can win them before you can buy them. We'll have a couple of chances for you to see Dweezil Zappa. My guitar wants to kill your mama. That was one of his songs from the 80s that I remember vividly in my hair metal music phase. My guitar wants to kill your mama.
You cannot win these tickets, Dave.
I really would. I would.
You cannot.
I'm intrigued. Dweezil Zappa tickets this afternoon on the Fan as well. You can pull up a stool and join us at 866-4FAN, 585-866-4326. And we love our regulars engaging with us on X at the Fan Rochester. And as I mentioned earlier, we've got the chat rooms open both on YouTube and Twitch for our live video streams, our channel at the Fan Rochester.
Austin Capobianco.
Hey, of course this guy tried to disrupt Game 4 at Yankee Stadium because he's
This is our territory. Look, umpire, look, here the wall is here.
They were violating our space. This is our space. You can't come into our space. Let me tell you something. If you can't find joy in what these knuckleheads did last night, I don't know what's wrong with you. Is what they did right? No, of course it's not right. Everybody, there's such a big difference between how, when this went down with the mayor kid, remember, or Bartman.
Yeah.
You remember how that was viewed, and everybody wagged their finger. And the difference between society then versus society now, and I know it's not completely apples to apples, but Bartman went into hiding because of all the abuse he took, and I know it's a different scenario. These guys will have a podcast by the end of the week, sponsored by Barstool. These guys will be heroes, cult heroes for years to come for what they did last night.
If it was against their own team, they'd be going to hiding too. Like
Maybe.
that's where that's the difference. But I think the mayor thing is a little more interesting. That's the comparison, and you know it's kind of a generational thing because I put this out on X and actually also on Facebook, and I tagged Danger, and to think Mike Danger calls us Met fans misfits, and I got a picture of this, and you know these were some of the reactions. Brad writing in, pathetic jerk, pay big bucks for a ticket and get kicked out of the stadium in the first inning. Brandon, that guy probably paid $1,200 for that ticket and saw less than an inning of baseball. Lou writing in, I'm a Yankee fan. On behalf of all of us, we disown this fella. Do you?
No. I think it's hilarious, and there's a plot twist to this story, and I want to believe this. It has to be true. Gronk was on the Kay Adams show.
Okay.
Gronk knows these guys. Gronk went to school with these guys. These guys went to university. They were like club hockey players. He's like, oh yeah, they're animals. They are wild dudes. They're a lot of fun. I'm not saying what they did was right, but I understand that's who they are.
Well,
Gronk!
Just like the Bartman incident, it's like they didn't come looking for trouble, but here comes destiny in the form of a foul ball. And Bartman is just oblivious, and he's not realizing he's interfering from the play.
Yeah. No, these guys knew what they were doing.
They knew
they
what
were protecting their turf.
They could have, honestly, Danger, they could have caught that ball, and that is not fan interference. If it's in foul territory and the fan bats it away, difference is Betts makes a hell of a play.
Yeah.
And then the difference is, okay, one guy is holding on to Betts' hand while the other guy is gleefully ripping open.
What I love about it is that both of those guys at that moment cared more and wanted it more than anybody in the Yankees dugout did. Those guys wanted it more than anybody, and they got it. And the Yankees get the win, and they extend the series. And
these guys, like, if they end up, imagine the scenario where the Yankees turn the ship around.
Can you imagine?
These
we will
guys
remember
will be
this
leading
play.
The parade. They're down 2-0 at this point.
That's right.
Freddie Freeman.
Again.
Daddy, got you again. Also, stop pitching to Freddie Freeman. You moron.
I have a take. I hope everybody is sitting down. This might come off as a little hot take-ish, so please forgive me in advance, but I'm willing to allow you to have the conversation about Freddie Freeman being the series MVP. I think he's deserved it. He's earned it at this point. Just maybe.
He's minus 1,900. Like, if the Dodgers, what was even the value?
So the likelihood of a Game 6 has never happened, right, in the World Series. If you're up 3-0, I think Game 5 has been forced a handful of times, maybe like once or twice, but never a Game 6. I think that's the stat I remember hearing or seeing. So, look, the likelihood that it even gets back to L.A., I think, is already pretty slim. But going into tonight, at minimum, you could say, hey, the Yankees aren't dead, and they certainly have momentum. Their bats came alive last night.
The Yankees have their guy on the mound.
That's right.
That being Garrett Cole. But what the Yankees, and I don't know if you could fix all this, and Smalt said it perfectly. Like, when they are hitting, it covers up a lot of other stuff. By stuff, I mean crap. Bad base running, bad managerial decisions, sloppy, fundamental baseball. Like, how is it that, hey, Anthony Volpe, grand slam. You need a microcosm of that? He doesn't have the grand slam. How do you not score on a double when you're on second?
Masked some serious base running deficiencies earlier in the game. Yeah.
Wow. And the only reason that was a double was because, well, he couldn't get home and Austin Wells couldn't get the third. That should have been a triple. So, therefore, you actually cost yourself a run because on the ground out, well, that should have not been scoring Volpe. That should have been scoring Wells.
I'll say this. I don't know if Dodgers fans feel the way about Dave Roberts, the way Yankee fans feel about Boone, but I think they maybe should. Like, it feels as if both of these franchises, both of these organizations who are meeting in this World Series, it was supposed to be this epic clash of the two best teams, and it's been kind of largely disappointing from an entertainment standpoint. I mean, it's just been blowout after blowout and mistakes and poor managerial decisions. And Roberts maybe not so much as Boone, but if you're a Dodger fan, do you feel the way about Roberts the way we know Yankee fans already feel about Boone?
No, I mean, maybe at some point if you're looking at you've had this talent and you got one World Series championship to show for it, the 2020, but they've been in positions. They got
2020 is an asterisk here for me.
I mean, they got robbed by everybody points to the Astros robbing the Yankees. It's the Astros against the Dodgers and Clayton Kershaw. You can all kind of look that up too. So that kind of has an asterisk-y feel to it, that particular World Series. But no, I think that actually Roberts last night is doing the right thing. The Yankees are up big. Okay, I've got 3 games. I'm going to save all my best relievers. Sorry, you're not going to see anything. So he that schlub Knack. I'm like, okay, the Mets feasted on him. Honeywell, who looks like he should be pitching in Long Island somewhere, that guy. It's like, yeah, those are the guys you're throwing out there.
I call Honeywell's hair the top ramen. That is some exquisite salad.
It's like 1989.
Yeah, he's got some top ramen. That's not arugula. That's top ramen that he's sporting out there. So we have a Game 5 tonight, and I'm excited because it's a beautiful night. It's a beautiful day in Rochester, and the screened-in garage gets to live for another night. I know we have plenty of you that are listening that have plans to enjoy the game one way or the other. Hopefully you have the chance to do it with fresh air in your life. I know Brian in East Hilton has his backyard bar with the big screen TV ready to go, I'm sure. Maybe not a rooting interest because he's a Red Sox fan, but it
does make you want to set a life goal of having one of those outdoor kitchen / kind of comfy bar
just a place to hang out.
Our guy Tim at work here,
fantastic.
Yeah, like just a little overhang. He's got the outdoor heater. I mean, that's all you need. Now you celebrate that now, and 3 weeks from now, you're like, oh, yeah, that would
just remember the good times. Remember the good times 3 weeks from now when we're all freezing again. PJ Glasser is the host of Send It In on the BetQL Network, Odyssey Sports Betting Insider. He'll share his favorite plays from college and pro football next on The Fan.
You're listening to
wide receiver Amari Cooper has a wrist injury. He was seen working off to the side at today's practice. In fact, the practice report just out. Limited today, Terrell Bernard, Cooper, Reggie Gilliam, and Curtis Samuel. The only player not practicing, guard Alec Anderson, for personal reasons. Head coach Sean McDermott on the Dolphins offense.
Yeah, I think they're back to being that offense that we know, and so explosive, so dynamic, so potent in what they do and how they do things. I think Coach McDaniel does a great job of putting them into great positions, and so they're very tough.
What does our expert have to say about this game? PJ Glasser, BetQL, joining us next year in the Sports Bar. Game 5 of the World Series tonight. The Yankees sending Garrett Cole. The Dodgers countering with Jack Flaherty. Gene Battaglia in the Sports Leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950. The Fan, Rochester.
Straight up with no chaser. You're in the Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia on the Sports Leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950 The Fan, Rochester.
We're going to get PJ Glasser's favorite plays in college pro football this weekend. Odyssey Sports betting insider PJ Glasser joins us. Insider Calls presented by BetMGM. Go check out all the latest lines today on the BetMGM app. But PJ, before we talk football, hey, we got a Game 5 tonight, and I mentioned it earlier, and I don't know how you feel about this, but I'm willing to go out on a limb and say Freddie Freeman should be considered MVP of this series. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, that's a hot take you got there, Danger.
Yeah,
he's 3 homers this series, one of the most iconic moments in World Series history with the walk-off grand slam in Game 1. He's been unbelievable. And, if you just bet his home run price throughout the series, you've been making a killing. It's plus 575 tonight on BetMGM for him to go deep. But certainly the MVP, I think the only way that he doesn't win it is obviously – if the Yankees, make this a deep series. If we go the full 7 games and somebody emerges, then maybe somebody else gets it, but it's Freddie's award, especially if the Dodgers win tonight.
Yeah, Garrett Cole, Jack Flaherty, anything worth playing here tonight as we're all watching here, PJ?
It's going to be an interesting game, guys. Honestly, the Dodgers have been getting off to such good starts in this series, especially the last 3 games, and I've just been kind of waiting. Last night I liked the over because the Dodgers went with a bullpen game, and in the 3 previous games they did that in the postseason. It was really high scoring. Cole and Flaherty both pitched in Game 1. Both guys had a lot of success. That was a low-scoring game through the first 6 innings, so I don't want to touch the total. What I'm going to do, honestly, is I'm just going to kind of wait to bet this game live. Obviously with Yankee Stadium being such a hitter's park, both offenses, the Dodgers especially, putting a ton of traffic on base. Both teams, I think, there's going to be chances for both teams to kind of come back, both teams to have chances to kind of have crooked innings in this game. So I don't want to lay, the minus 130, minus 135 with the Yankees because the Dodgers are the better team, and I could see them close it out tonight. But if we get one of these teams on the run line tonight, guys, plus 2.5, plus 3.5, somewhere around that range, I think that would be a good way to bet Game 5 tonight.
Looking forward to it, PJ, and looking forward to an unbelievable weekend of action in football, both college and pro. And we got a lot of Penn State fans in our audience. We got a lot of Penn State fans in our area. Lots of ties to Happy Valley. And Happy Valley is buzzing this week with Ohio State coming to town. So let's start with this highlighted game here in the Big Ten. Which way are you leaning between Penn State and Ohio State, PJ?
Yeah, as you guys know and as all the Penn State fans know, this is always the game where we kind of measure if this Penn State team is different than what we've seen years past or if it's just same old Penn State. And from what I've seen throughout the season so far, for me, it just feels like same old Penn State. The one tough game that they had was USC, and they were fortunate to win that game. We'll see what happens with the quarterback position. We don't know if it's going to be Aller or if it's going to be Prabula. I would think just the gamesmanship from Franklin this week, he's going to take it right up until kickoff, kind of make Ryan Day and Ohio State prepare for both teams. The line at 3.5, 4 feels about right. I would expect this game to be close, especially in the first half through the third quarter. I think Ohio State on the money line, though, taking them, as a parlay piece this week and parlaying them with another game, I think might be the way to go. Guys, it's a big game for the Buckeyes. I mean, if they lose, they have 2 losses on the season. They still got Indiana on their schedule. And I know Michigan isn't as good as obviously they've been the last couple of years, but that's still a rivalry game, and the Wolverines are going to treat that like their Super Bowl. So Ohio State really needs this one. And Penn State, it's kind of like if Aller plays, probably the better option, but certainly not going to be at 100%. And then Pabula, if he plays, I mean, going up against that Ohio State defense, it's going to be tough. So I think almost Penn State, regardless of the quarterback that they play, it's kind of a tough situation for them. Obviously, Franklin struggled 1-9 against Ohio State. So I'll play it safe. I don't want to touch the spread, but I like Ohio State on the money line.
PJ, there is another early game here. Pick your thoughts, and maybe we're not watching this one, but should we be playing Ole Miss, Arkansas? Ole Miss, number 19, 6-2. Arkansas at 5-3. It's Ole Miss giving 7 here. Is that too many? How do you view this?
Yeah, and Arkansas would be the only side I would play in the game, Gene. Ole Miss has to win out if they want any chance of making the playoff. They got Georgia upcoming next week, so you would have to figure maybe a little look ahead to that game. And look, Arkansas this season's played a tough schedule. They played A&M, they played Tennessee, they played LSU. The 3 things that I've noticed in all 3 of those games, guys, they've all been low scoring. A&M game was 21-17, Tennessee game was 19-14, and the LSU game was 34-10. So Arkansas hasn't scored more than 20 points in any of these games against kind of the upper tier in the SEC. And now here they go up against Ole Miss. This is the best defense Kiffin's had since he's been in Oxford. They've got a good defense this year. So I like the under 53.5. They're calling for some rain in Fayetteville as well. If I had to pick the spread, I would probably take Arkansas plus the 7, but my favorite play is the under at 53.5.
Pitt just dispatched of Syracuse last Thursday night, courtesy of a handful of McCord pick sixes there, and they've got SMU this weekend. Which way are you leaning here, PJ?
Guys, that game was insane, wasn't it? They had Pitt had 17 points and 16 yards of total offense or something because Syracuse just kept throwing pick sixes. But that's what it's kind of been for Pitt this year. They're undefeated, but they're kind of, we call them box score fraud teams, where it looks good in the box score, but they're really not playing anybody. And now they're going up against an SMU team that's solid. They're undefeated in ACC play. Their only loss this season was to BYU. And at the time, we didn't think that was a very good loss. Well, BYU's undefeated in the Big 12. So they only lost that game by 3 points. I think what really sold me on SMU being like a solid team, guys, on Saturday they played Duke, and they lost the turnover battle 6-0 on the road and still managed to win that game in overtime. I don't know how many teams will be able to overcome 6-0 turnover and still find a way to win. So SMU's solid. I think a lot of people are going to see 2 ranked teams, 2 undefeated ACC teams. You're getting 7.5. It's going to be too many points. I think this is finally where Pitt gets exposed. SMU's a solid team. I think anything in single digits, 7.5, 8, whatever it may be, I'd lay it with SMU.
So, in the spirit of Halloween, a team that has kind of risen back, maybe from the dead, or we left them for the dead after Week 1, Texas A&M, losing to Notre Dame, all right, and come back. They haven't lost since. So now they get South Carolina, and the Gamecocks are one of these teams, PJ, that they're not embarrassing themselves. They're playing some tough competition, obviously. They're 4-3. Honestly, I don't know how you're going to predict this one. What I'm looking at here, Aggies 2.5-point favorites here. What are your thoughts on this game?
Gene, I'm glad you brought up that Notre Dame game because the handicap for this game in terms of just the spot and the situation are very similar. After that Notre Dame game, I think we were all congratulating Notre Dame. We were all patting them on the back even though it was Week 1. You looked at the rest of their schedule and you were saying, congrats, you guys are in the playoff. Like this win against A&M, you already solidified your spot. What did they do the very following week? They turned around and lost to Northern Illinois. Yeah. You think about what Bama did when they had that huge win over Georgia. Oh, congrats to Bama, going to win the SEC again. Saban's gone. They continue to roll. They turn around and lose to Vanderbilt. A&M better be careful, guys, because after that win against LSU last week or on Saturday, they're undefeated. It's looking good. They have the game against Texas at the end of the year. But, I mean, on paper, it looks like A&M's going to be in the playoffs. So that's what they got to deal with this week is kind of not buying into all that. South Carolina's coming off of a bye week. This is one of those games that's really important to them to win. if they want to make a bowl game, and just kind of one of those fishy lines, right? A&M opens at 3.5. It goes through the key number of 3. Now it's sitting at 2.5. The A&M LSU game flipped last week when Mike Elko and A&M brought in Marcel Reed, who's a really good dual-threat quarterback, and LSU had no answers for that. Well, South Carolina's quarterback is dual threat as well. So I think the Gamecocks are going to be more equipped. They're going to be better prepared to deal with that. They obviously have film on Reed that they can lean on as well. So this line at 2.5, guys, and just A&M coming off that win against LSU, I think it's a great spot for South Carolina. I would take them outright. I think it's going to be an upset this week.
Let's shift gears to the NFL, where we made hay last weekend, PJ. Your advice was very profitable for us in Week 8 and Week 9. We look at a game here where the Ravens look to bounce back after losing to the Browns. It's the Broncos, Bo Nix. Bo Nix, how are we feeling about Ravens-Broncos for Week 9?
Bo Nix in Baltimore, fellas. How about that? This is the way it's supposed to be. Yeah, I mean, one of those picks we had last week was the Browns plus the points. Just the Ravens, guys, I'm telling you. You guys know I'm a Ravens fan. It's unbelievable. More often than not, they're a very profitable team. You know, you want to bet them in primetime games. You want to bet them as underdogs. You want to bet them when the spread is close. I went back and looked, and it's incredible. 5 of the last 6 games the Ravens have lost have been when 3 things have aligned. When they played in the 1 p.m. slot on Sunday, when they've been favorites by 4 points or more, and when they go up against an AFC team. Now, a lot of people just might think that's like word salad or that's just some kind of random trend. But when you consider the fact that Lamar's 23-1 against the NFC, when you consider that they're so good in all the other games and that he's just not good as a big favorite, he's 2-11-1 as a favorite of 7 or more points. Like, these are always the games where the Ravens have letdowns. Ravens fans, we always say the only team that can beat the Ravens is the Ravens. And more often than not, these are the games that they lose, right? Like, they don't lose to the best teams. You know, they beat the Bills. They beat the Niners. They beat all these good teams. It's Jameis and the Browns. It's Kenny Pickett and the Steelers. It's the Raiders in Week 2. Like, these are the games where they struggle. They got a tough game with Cincinnati coming on a short week on Thursday. I know Bo Nix isn't great. The Ravens secondary is terrible, fellas. So I think he's going to be able to make some plays. You know, Denver's defense is good as well. Lamar and the Ravens have just shown us time and time again when they're big favorites like this in this early time slot, not to back them. So I'll take Denver plus the points on Sunday.
PJ Glass, your host of Send It In, which you can hear weekdays on the BetQL network. Let's leave the Bills-Dolphins for last year, PJ. There's another game I want to ask you about, and we're going to be watching this in the late afternoon window, that being the Packers and Lions. And I don't know when this happened, PJ, but it wasn't that long ago. Like, oh, wait a second. We don't know if this quarterback is playing. Off the board, no line. We don't know. All right, well, I don't know how to play this, not knowing the status here at Jordan Love. I would think he would go up, but then again, it's a groin injury. Who the heck knows? So what would be your advice here about Lions and Packers?
Right, so that's what makes it tough, Gene, right? Is right now odds makers are kind of playing the line like in the middle. So it's at like 3.5. You figure if Love's ruled out, it probably goes up to 4.5. If he's ruled in, it probably goes to 2, maybe even 1.5. So they're kind of putting it in the middle. I'd bet Green Bay right now because we're getting that key number of 3.5. Guys, Matt LaFleur is 17-4 against the spread in his last 21 games as an underdog of 3 or more points. He is excellent in these spots. And look, Malik Willis, I mean, he was terrible in Tennessee, but what we've seen so far with Green Bay, with LaFleur, more than capable. The reason I love this game, though, is because it's Jared Goff outside. The reason I like the Lions so much coming into the season was because 14 of the 17 games that they played this year were indoors. And we all know Jared Goff indoors versus Jared Goff outdoor is two completely different players. So the fact that LaFleur's a dog and the Packers are at home, Jared Goff is outdoors, no Jameson Williams again. Obviously, if Willis does play, you can get a better number and you can bet it again. But I'm just going to go ahead and pull the trigger at 3.5 so we get it over the field goal. But I like Green Bay.
Bears-Cardinals in the late afternoon window, and I'm still licking my wounds from late Sunday afternoon and the Hail Mary that was heard around the NFL, and all anybody wants to talk about as far as Jaden Daniels and that gutty performance and the ineptitude of my Chicago Bears, PJ. But we're talking about this game, so I have to imagine you have a lean in one direction or the other, and the Cardinals are playing some pretty good football right now.
They are, and Danger, I don't know if you know this. I saw a tweet today, guys. The stat, it almost doesn't sound real. It's so ridiculous. Since Matt Eberflus has been head coach, he is 3-17 straight up on the road as Bears head coach. 3-17 straight up. The only games that he has won were when they beat the Patriots on Monday night with Bailey Zappi, when they beat the Vikings on Monday night with Josh Dobbs, and then that Thursday night game last year where DJ Moore went off against the Commanders and Sam Howell. So all three of the wins have come on weekdays. The guy's never won a road game on a Sunday. That's problematic when the NFL tends to play a lot of their games on a Sunday. So here we are getting a pick'em with Arizona. And the Bears are in the biggest emotional, that loss was as devastating as it comes. I mean, for me, guys, I don't think you overthink it. Eberflus is so bad on the road, and the Bears are coming off that just awful loss. Arizona's playing good football. They've won a couple in a row. I like Arizona to pick them.
Yeah, PJ Glasser, our guest. Okay, now leading up to Dolphins-Bills, and before we get to that, just going back to last week, because there was a line last week where, wait a second, PJ, this smells. And you were like, sure enough, you explained why. Hey, take Jacksonville and the points here. And sure enough, bing, yeah, Green Bay won, but they didn't cover right in that window. I'm looking at Dolphins and Bills. PJ, this smells to me. It really does. The Bills won by 3 touchdowns. It could have been 5 touchdowns that Week 3 game. Look, a lot has changed, I understand, but this game is up in Buffalo, and the Bills' offense looking much better coming out of Seattle. The Bills are only giving 6 at home. How do you view this matchup?
Yeah, Gene, I agree. I mean, it does look stinky, especially considering the Bills' dominance over the Dolphins since Allen's been in there. And Miami, I think a lot of professional bettors liked them last week with Arizona coming off the short week, Tua back into the lineup, and it just felt like that loss was just a crusher to Miami. And you kind of got these teams going in 2 different directions. The Bills, ever since that win against the Jets, have looked like the team that we saw in the first couple weeks, and Miami just, even getting Tua back. The offense obviously looked better, as you would expect, but just unable to get the win. So I'm just playing it safe, guys, going with the Bills in a teaser this week, right? And just teasing down on the money line. I think they win the game. As we know, it's tough to beat a team 2 times, divisional game. It's tough for me to bet these kind of games when you don't know what kind of effort you're getting out of Miami. Are they still fighting? Do they still believe they have a chance? Or was last week's game kind of their dream crusher? Was it kind of that emotional game where they're just kind of not going to be the same team, psychologically that obviously they were at the beginning of the season? So the Bills have dominated this matchup. I could only lay the 6 with Buffalo in this game, but I'm just going to play it safe. I think they're a great teaser leg this week and just taking them on the money line.
PJ, tell everybody about Send It In, the show you host on the BetQL network, and where we can get more of your content.
Yeah, guys, 1 to 1:30 p.m. Eastern Time every Monday through Friday. You can watch the show twitch.tv/BetQL, YouTube/Odyssey Sports. 30 minutes, no commercial breaks. It's interactive, so we encourage people to listen to the show, chime in with any questions that they have, any bets that they have throughout the day, and it's a lot like this, guys. Rapid fire. We go through a little bit of everything: baseball, college football, NBA. We got college hoops starting up 5 days on Monday. Can't wait for that. So a lot going on. And, a lot of fun on Send It In. 1 to 1:30 p.m. every Monday through Friday.
Now, the Yankees, I don't know if you've been paying attention, but they've been having some of their all-time greats throw out the first pitch in Game 4. It was Derek Jeter. Last night, not so good for Paul O'Neill. He needed a redo. I don't know who they're going to put out there tonight, but if you want to get the crowd fired up, if you brought out the closer, who's that?
What, the Sandman?
Yeah, what was the Sandman? They would play that.
Yeah, I remember
who's
that guy.
Mariano Rivera, boys. They want to bring out Mariano. That might get the crowd rocking tonight.
PJ, you were a good man. Thank you.
Love you guys. That's awesome.
Pretty good. PJ Glasser is the host of Send It In. Oh, God bless Baltimore. I mean, I don't view it as a bit. Like when Kirkchin loses his mind as Van Pelt is just hammering him with Baltimore accent names. It's hilarious. It is the funniest accent.
Thing with PJ.
Yeah, it is the funniest accent anywhere. It cracks me up every time I hear it.
And again, if you're new to the show, PJ had only been on with us a couple months. Honestly, I had no idea where he was from, didn't know his roots, anything else. And he's doing this, and he's talking about the Women's World Cup. Remember the women, they went over to New Zealand. He's talking about Megan Rapinoe. I'm like, wait, time out. Who?
Megan Rapinoe. Oh, Megan Rapinoe. Yeah, Megan Rapinoe. Oh, okay. We did a whole bracket in March of just names that are fun to say with the Baltimore accent. The Baltimore accent bracket. And if you're wondering, the champion, defending champion, former Olympic medalist, Apollo Anton Ono. Apollo Anton Ono was the champion. I think Dante DiVincenzo was in there. Certainly Joe Flacco. Joe Flacco was a legend.
Yeah.
Placido Polanco. How do you forget about that guy? Yeah, so we like having some fun with PJ. And we also love PJ because he gives us some winners. And if you tail him, you're probably going to end up in the green by the end of your weekend. College and pro football, some Major League Baseball as well with Game 5 tonight in the Bronx. Let's get to our next guest here next hour. Greg Thompson, cover 1. We'll talk a little bit about the Bills and their matchup with Miami. We'll talk a little bit about the roster construction here, not just in the immediate future with the trade deadline coming up on Tuesday, but also the long-term future for some of these star players for the Buffalo Bills with Greg Thompson. Before we get to him, let's give away a free pair of tickets now to see Dweezil Zappa. His guitar wants to kill your mama, and he's coming to Kodak Center April 15th, 2025. Tickets for that go on sale at 10 a.m. on Friday. You can win a free pair now to see Dweezil Zappa at Kodak Center when you call 866-4FAN. Let's go with caller 5, 866-4326.
You're listening to The Sports Bar with Danger and WBEE HD2 Rochester. And streaming online and in the Odyssey app at The Fan Rochester. The sports leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950. The Fan Rochester. An Odyssey sports station. The Fan Rochester. Sports Update.
Bills wide receiver Amari Cooper has a wrist injury. He was working off to the side at today's practice. Other players that were limited in Buffalo, Curtis Samuel, Reggie Gilliam, and Terrell Bernard. Sean McDermott on that big divisional lead.
I don't worry about it really. I worry about what we do, and we drive from here to home and back. You guys know the drill, but that's good. That's what's kind of good too, is I don't really know who's doing well and who's not, other than just things that we need to work on and things we can get better at.
Coverage will begin at 9 a.m. this Sunday. Bills and Dolphins, the kickoff at 1 o'clock. Tonight, it's Game 5 of the World Series. Yankees sending Garrett Cole. The Dodgers countering with Jack Flaherty. The Amherst beginning a series in Utica. That's coming up Friday and Saturday. Gene Battaglia on the Sports Leader. 95.7 FM and AM 950. The Fan Rochester.
The Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia.
You know, there's been 5 games that they've played since we've played them. So, yeah, we look at everything. Coach McDaniel does a great job along with his staff of being really creative and putting these guys in positions and making a lot of big plays. And the speed that they have, as I've said before, is unmatched around the league.
Mike Danger.
I have zero faith in Miami making it competitive. I think the Bills are going to just throttle them on Sunday. I don't see the Dolphins as a team playing inspired football. I see them kind of checked out. Maybe we see a game that is so lopsided that it looks like Miami has quit on their coach and they have to start making tough decisions right away.
Gene Battaglia.
Can the Bills move the ball on Miami? Yes. It doesn't have to be complicated here. It really doesn't. It should be just James Cook. And then once you soften it up a little bit, bam. Honestly, like that to me is the beginning and the end of this conversation here of Buffalo-Miami.
Yeah.
95.7 FM and AM 950 The Fan. Rochester.
It never fails. Our regulars in the Sports Bar, they never let us down. I mean, we've got a World Series to talk about. We've got a matchup against a divisional opponent that we're going to talk about throughout the course of the afternoon. But as soon as I bring up Halloween candy and the Halloween Candy Power Rankings, which we'll unveil for 2024 tomorrow afternoon here on The Fan, everybody's got to chime in.
What is it? Because everybody likes candy?
The breaking news.
Ow! 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 It really hit me. I didn't know it was coming back that far.
That my wife invested in full-size candy bars for the first time. Our house is elite for Halloween. Not talking about decorations. I'm talking about, you want value? You know what house you need to come to. You're getting a full-size candy bar if you come by Chateau Dangereux for Halloween. I really don't know. I mean, I'm kind of excited about that, but I'm also nervous that we're setting an unrealistic precedent for the rest of the neighborhood and that we might get egged, not by the kids, but by the parents of the kids who see us handing out the full-size candy bars.
Your neighborhood, I swear, has the most children of any like honestly.
It's a baby factory.
Yeah.
And here's what's happening now. We've been in our neighborhood now for over 20 years. So a lot of the kids that were babies when we moved into the neighborhood are now all off to college, young adults starting their adult life. And a lot of the empty nesters are selling and moving out of the neighborhood to downsize. And when they leave, who's moving into their house? Here comes a new generation of little rugrats just running around the neighborhood. So, yeah, it's a constant cycle. And there are a lot of kids in the neighborhood who are going to be very pleasantly surprised when they ring the doorbell at my house and get a full-size treat in return.
I have to commend your wife because I always thought your wife, what's the word I want to use? Frugal.
She's cheap.
I can't call her cheap. You can call her cheap. I can call her frugal.
She got peer pressured on this one. She's a regular listener to her show and also to the Sports Bar, who I met at their 25th anniversary party at Three Heads. Full-size candy bar Phil. He pulled me aside and he's like, look, you know, I bust her chops on the air for being cheap. She really needs to step her game up. We're going to get her to go full-size candy bar. I'm like, Phil, if you do that, you're a better man than I. I've been saying it for years. I hate waste. We end up with these extra bags of candy, and I don't want them in the house. I have zero willpower. I don't need that. You know, my BMI does not need to be nougat for the month after Halloween. So let's just get it out of the house. And Phil points out, one of our regulars on X, You end up with a garbage pile of fun-sized Milky Way, Three Musketeers, and other grandma candies. You're right, Phil. I don't need that in the house. So now, less waste, more efficiency.
Okay, see, this is the hot take factory. Who says Three Musketeers is a grandma candy? If you, okay, call me grandma then. I made the mistake years ago of saying I like butterscotch, not knowing that.
Yeah, you like the Werther's Originals.
Werther's Originals. And
Come on over, kids. Have a seat on Grandpa Gene's lap, and we'll share stories with a Werther's Original.
Not forgetting totally what that campaign was, and you look back at that on YouTube. Just Google Werther's. Like, wow, this is super creepy.
Not weird at all.
Now I'm the grandpa. I give my grandchildren.
Come on
Werther's.
over. Sit on my lap. Have a Werther's. Happy Halloween. We got a tweet here from screen name Rubber Band Mouth. I'd like to know your real name. Yeah. We get 200 to 300 kids. We give out full-size candy bars with a juice box for each. Whoa. In this economy, slow down there, big spender. Nobody likes a one-upper. This from our regular, the gloat, Chris in South Central Kentucky. You know whose house I'd take my kids to for trick-or-treating? Nathan Peterman, because he'll let you pick six. It's not bad. We can update it.
I would say Kyle McCord would be the 2024 version of that.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you. What's more surprising to you, Danger? Think back to March, where if you're just going by TV ratings, they tell a story sometimes. And in March, you had the women's final in college basketball beating out the number of the men's final. Like, wow. Okay, what can we learn from this? Is that more surprising to you, or the fact I'm going to present to you now that this past Monday, baseball beat out the NFL?
Mm-hmm.
What's more surprising?
The women's.
Baseball drew 13.64 million for Game 3 Monday night. That was the highest Game 3 since 2013. That would have been Boston and St. Louis. And Monday Night Football beat it, not by a wide margin, 13.4. That was kind of barely. It was only the fourth time the World Series and Monday Night Football ever went head-to-head on a network, all right, on network TV. That was also on ABC. Last time being last year, and maybe this is the story here. The numbers from last year, the Lions-Raiders, if you remember that game, did a 15.2. Rangers-Diamondbacks did an 8.1.
Yeah.
Look, it's great that we're expanding our sports palette, but let's be honest. The Giants are the story here. They're a bad watch. Same market as the Yankees. It was the Steelers and anybody else. Pick a team with a good offense. The Bills in a small market, that doesn't matter. Steelers-Bills would have beaten baseball.
I know that ESPN isn't going to go out and brag about their Monday Night Football number because it fell 200,000 viewers short of what Dodgers-Yankees did on Monday night. But the reality is this is still a win for the NFL. I mean, you trotted out a bad matchup against the perfect storm in Major League Baseball. The two largest markets, these two heritage teams that everybody knows with superstars on the biggest stage, in the biggest market, at the most historic stadium, and you only won by 200,000 viewers against the Steelers and the Giants?
Yeah, and the Yankee viewers probably, you're pulling away from the Giants on that. So what you're saying is might be the last time something like this happens?
I mean, I think you just need a perfect storm for Major League Baseball to be in this conversation because football will always dominate as far as the attention of the viewer.
Okay, fair enough. So, like, if I bring it back to what happened in March, that felt perfect stormish, right? Here's Caitlin Clark getting to the pinnacle. Actually, no, she doesn't. It's going to be South Carolina. Like, that kind of felt different to me too there.
Yeah.
And like, you're not going to are we going to be into women's basketball in 2025 the way that we were in 2024?
Well, I'll tell you what. Them going on strike isn't going to really help their cause.
Well, college basketball, I don't think we kind of view that. Yeah. But the WNBA.
No, college basketball is not going to pull the number that it did with Caitlin Clark. There's no chance. In the WNBA, in a league that's trying to capture that attention, that still can't break a profit,
they have some growing pains. Let's just put it that way.
Yes.
Yeah,
you're being
definitely
polite.
do, yeah.
Yes. I know we talked about it a little bit yesterday, and it's still a story today based on some of the comments made by Shane Steichen. But the reality behind the benching, Gino, of Anthony Richardson, I imagine Steichen, I imagine Ballard, the Colts, they had to know the risk associated with taking someone with limited college experience in the top 4 of the first round of the NFL draft. It's not like a template for this doesn't exist or hasn't happened in the past. Has everyone forgotten how the Niners gambled on Trey Lance? I mean, that's a franchise that makes it to the Super Bowl, not the Colts. They invested heavily on that player. Limited college experience, massive red flag for pro success. And all that said, I right now can't label Richardson, Bryce Young, Trey Lance, Justin Fields, Will Levis, hell, Zach Wilson. I can't label any of them bust because I'm watching Sam Darnold. I'm watching Baker Mayfield. Give it time. Check in down the road. Any of these guys can still be Mr. Right for their team. They just can't be Mr. Right now.
Yes, I hear you. Also, the examples of success you're showing with, it's only because those teams moved on. You're saying prematurely. In the case of the Browns, that was always weird to me how Baker Mayfield was playing hurt. He led your team to the postseason, and then get out of here. So, to me, the Cleveland era seemed to end at the wrong time for Baker Mayfield. I thought he was playing.
Rise from the ashes. I mean, remember, it was a game where he was playing as a backup with the Rams that led the Buccaneers to say, maybe there's something there.
And for Darnold, I want to hit the pause button. Hey, it's been great. It's been a great half of the season. If the Vikings miss the playoffs, we'll forget about this, and they'll turn to the kid next year.
Well, they're going to turn to the kid next year no matter what. That's the future of their franchise. But I think what Darnold has done is shown that if he's got the right support around him, he can still be a good quarterback. And a lot of it is the situation that you're in. I don't think Richardson is necessarily in a bad situation, but I think there is something to be said for him developing while watching a veteran like Joe Flacco win football games with this team.
That is not what the head coach told you today, though.
I know that's not what he said.
Okay,
He's not going to say that.
The other reports that have come out of this, okay, Steichen didn't address the locker room about this. Steichen also, according to Richardson, didn't sit him down. So does he have to? No, but that's an investment. Hey, we're going to get – you would have thought you would have told him the decision. So what's really going on here? I see this as just a head coach looking to save his own ass. Honestly, hey, we can make the postseason, and that's ultimately – it's hard to let coaches go in the postseason with Joe Flacco, but you're not helping yourself. That's why ultimately when you make a move like this, it should go not the upper management. It's an ownership decision. Hey, this guy that we drafted, I want to make the move. What happened to Jim Irsay? Jim Irsay used to be this outspoken, you can call him lovable, you could hate him, but at least you know where he stood on things, right? From his throne. Remember this guy? And then something happened health-related, and now he's nowhere to be found. That's disappointing. I mean, look, my point is you're wasting time with Anthony Richardson on the bench because I would find this hard to believe that Jim Irsay would be signing off on this.
Except that nobody can argue Joe Flacco gives them a better chance to win. And you're paying a head coach to win football games.
Joe Flacco gives them a better chance to win in November and December and make the postseason. Ultimately, is that the goal?
Yeah.
Joe Flacco, he will get waxed in the postseason. Did you not see what happened with the Browns last year?
Trying to win games, though, Gino. I mean, I get what you're saying. You want the kid out there to develop him, and he needs the reps, but I think he can also gain value and experience by watching a veteran who knows how to win, who's won Super Bowls, win games that you probably don't expect them to win.
Right, and before with Matt Ryan and Phillip Rivers. It's funny how the Colts just keep this cycle up. Who will be the next veteran quarterback that they're going to trot in?
Sam Darnold.
No, he's too young for that.
Oh, I'm sorry.
You got to really go.
Matt Stafford.
Ding, ding. I like
right?
that pick.
I mean, why not?
Yeah.
But it does. You bring up a point about Irsay. I mean, he usually does have. He's vocal. He's usually chiming in on this kind of stuff. But I wonder whatever that illness was that struck him down, how severe it is and how much it's preventing him from being in the public eye and weighing in on some of these decisions that are being made, or God forbid a billionaire owner of an NFL franchise lets the football guys make football decisions that are actually going to help you win football games instead of, hey, draft Bryce Young number 1 overall instead of the guy who's really good that everybody else wants.
But this seems like we're entering new territory here with Bryce Young and with Anthony. Maybe Young will finally, he'll play poorly enough and okay, this isn't it, and Carolina will be at the top of the draft. But for Richardson entering year 3, and if year 3 you drafted a guy that's only going to have 10 starts, that's it? It's the age-old, when do we start the guy? Maybe putting him in there at the beginning wasn't such a good idea.
Well,
maybe they should have gotten some, yeah.
Right, and to go back to my original point, I think anytime you're viewing a quarterback with that little college experience, it should be a gigantic red flag. They just don't have the proper seasoning to be an NFL starter.
The other thing, too, is the team that did this in reverse, the Falcons. Michael Penix has all sorts of college experience. Michael Penix won at different schools. And
right.
Michael Penix should be helping some team, and we're being deprived of that because they got old man Kirk Cousins there.
Well, yes, but they're, if they weren't winning, believe me, we would see Michael Penix, but they're winning the games they need to win. And if you see Michael Penix next year, I have a feeling it'll be as good a Michael Penix as what we're used to seeing from his time playing at the college level. I don't think there's any harm. I still don't get the pick. I still don't understand the pick by Atlanta or the strategy. If Cousins breaks down, I guess you see Penix at some point, but we're not rooting for that. And they're first place in their division. So good luck seeing Penix on the field this year. I don't think it's going to happen. At minimum, you have something that maybe you get something of value for down the road from another team who might be looking for an upgraded quarterback. Could you see a Penix trade to another team here in the next couple of years if Kirk Cousins continues to play it the way he's been playing it? I don't know.
So these two jabronis that were kicked out of the game.
Watch your tongue. You said hero. I heard hero is what I heard. Two heroes?
They're season ticket holders, but I'm going to read the part of the statement here. You tell me what's missing here, right? They will not. These two fans will not be permitted to attend tonight's game in any capacity. Their behavior egregious and unacceptable. The safety and security of our players, fans, and the stadium staff is the fundamental element of every event held at Yankee Stadium, and it cannot be compromised. Okay, you're not allowing them back tonight.
No, they're back next year.
Right.
Yeah.
These guys are going to be celebrities.
Yeah, I'm telling you, this is the difference between Mayor and the world we live in now. These guys they'll have their own podcast by the end of the week. Today's what, Wednesday? I'm saying by Friday they have a podcast deal with a sponsor, and they will have a Yankees podcast, a Yankees-themed podcast. They will become celebrities because of this ridiculous behavior.
No, coming up. Hey, the new Odyssey podcast.
Yeah.
Danger, do you want to?
What's
his
name again?
Austin Capobianco.
Hey!
I don't understand what Judge is doing up at the plate here, but I'm here to talk about our territory. Our territory. See this wall?
You don't go over this wall. This wall right here. You don't go over this wall. You know why you don't go over this wall? Because I'm Italian.
Mr. Umpire, you are on that side. We are on this side. He puts his glove up there. That's our ball.
All bets are off, pal. That's my ball. That's my glove. I own Mookie Betts' arm. Get out of here with that. That's our wall. You know why it's our wall? Because I'm Italian.
What if it happens again tonight?
I mean, I saw it happen, and I know it made a lot of people upset. I'm sorry. I laughed. I could not stop laughing at it.
Cracking up.
I could not stop laughing at these two meatballs absolutely being everything you would expect a New York Yankee fan to be. Give me that glove. Give me that ball. Get off my turf. Get out of here. And then the footnote to this, and if this is true, and I think it is, because why would he make it up? Gronk today on Kay Adams' show is talking about how he knows these dudes. He went to school with these dudes in Arizona. He remembers them. They were club hockey players. at Arizona, and he said they were crazy. They were wild men. They were animals. These guys, everything that they did, it all fits the profile. He's not saying that he likes what they did or what they did was right, but it checks out. I'm like, yeah, if you're hanging out with Gronk in college, chances are you probably got a little bit of a complex. You're probably walking around thinking, hey, what are you going to do about it, huh, Mookie Betts? What are you going to do?
Well, if
this is our wall.
If there's a theme to the sports bar this week, Danger, fans are encouraged that they can make a difference in some way, the outcome. Now, did that play kind of alter the game? Well, the Yankees are down 2-0. Betts made the play, was an out. But you know what? Kind of energized the building, did it not? Did it not wake up everybody and get everybody saying, what was that? And everybody's like, that was important, I thought. Get a little energy. The other one being, hey, let's bait this second-year corner of the Bears here. Like, hey, like that. Those guys in Washington didn't do anything wrong, and they literally will always say, we helped our team win a game.
Right. Yeah, they can hold that one. They got the W on that one. I was very heavily amused by, I mean, the roll call is fantastic at Yankee Stadium. I do love that tradition.
For folks who don't know, this is in the right field bleachers. This has been going on forever. How long? I don't know. But they will do this, and they will go around the horn. So say you're going to start off with shortstop Anthony Volpe.
Yeah. No, they go, Volpe.
Yeah.
Like they have a chant for all of them.
These guys.
Right?
And then every Yankee player has to put up their hand or just tip.
Acknowledge.
That's all.
After the game, I don't know if you caught this. But, of course, they have the panel after the game. It's A-Rod, it's Derek Jeter, and, of course, they're doing their roll call, and they, in the middle of the broadcast, they're Derek Jeter. Yeah. They're doing one for A-Rod, and then who's next to him on the desk? Poppy sucks! Poppy sucks! They're just killing him. They got momentum. It's going to be a scene tonight. Mm-hmm. I'm not saying they're going to win Game 5 because that would be kind of historic. I don't think that a team down 3-0 in this series has ever forced a Game 6, but it would be something, and I'm not going to count them dead when they've got their guy on the mound tonight.
The one thing Yankee fans are getting killed for, and I hate this, the moment stand up for the credit card company. Like, it is the most brilliant piece of sports marketing ever, where we're going to take cancer, but where everybody is going to, all 50,000 people are going to hold up your logo, and every home viewer is going to hold up the credit card logo because we all hate cancer. Silence, and look at the logo. I hate that. All right? I don't know why anybody else doesn't get upset by that. I think it's wrong to use cancer in that way, but there's the moment of silence. Now, I don't know about you. During a moment of silence, you stay silent. But there's somebody yelling Freddie Freeman sucks. Like, okay, number one, he doesn't. Number two, yeah.
I mean, I'm a big fan of the Madhouse on Madison. And when Jim Cornelison in Chicago will sing the national anthem at a Chicago Blackhawks game, it's tradition to sing along. Not in Chicago. Everybody sings, but they go berserk. It's just a wall of noise. And I don't know that that's necessarily disrespectful, but it's their thing. It's just their thing. And yeah, I don't expect a Yankee fan to remain silent when their team is down 3-0 and Freddie Freeman is the reason. That might be a bridge too far to ask Yankee fan to remain silent and keep your jars and your criticisms to yourself. I don't know about that.
Just point this out. I know we're late for the break. If we were a Met fan doing this, I would never hear the end of it from you. I would never hear the end of it from you.
What? No.
I want you to
I would say the same thing. I would say the same. I would be calling them heroes in their grimace costume, licking their ice cream. That would be the thing.
If the Mets are losing and I said, Freddie Freeman sucks, you'd be like, you misfit. Don't do that during a moment of silence.
I don't know. I don't know how I would react to that. I did get a little dig there with Mets fan licking their ice cream, trying to rip the glove off of Mookie Betts. It would look a little bit differently if it was at Citi Field. Just front row at the circus,
the thing about
cotton candy.
Look at that photo of Capo Bianco. The hands, they look kind of...
Oh, yeah, absolutely. He looks like a troll.
Yeah.
Complete troll. Oh, that was a lot of fun. Can't wait for Game 5 tonight. Going to be a good time. Let's get Greg Thompson to Cover One in here next. Cover One capologist. We'll talk a little bit about the Bills' roster construction here, not just in the short term with the trade deadline coming up on Tuesday, long term as well. Lots of names that are due to get paid based on their performance so far this year. We'll look at this weekend's matchup, and we'll get into more with Greg Thompson of Cover One next on the Fan Rochester.
You're listening to the Rochester Sports Update.
Bills wide receiver Amari Cooper has a wrist injury, although he was just working off to the side at today's practice. Other players that were limited, Curtis Samuel, Reggie Gilliam, and Terrell Bernard. Head coach Sean McDermott on the Dolphins offense.
Yeah, I think they're back to being that offense that we know, and so explosive, so dynamic, so potent in what they do and how they do things. I think Coach McDaniel does a great job of putting them into great positions, and so they're very tough.
Our coverage Sunday, Bills-Dolphins will begin at 9 a.m. Greg Tomsek, Cover 1, joining us next year in the Sports Bar. Game 5 of the World Series tonight. The Yankees once again need a win to stay alive. They send out Garrett Cole to mound. The Dodgers countering with Jack Flaherty. Team Battaglia, the sports leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950, The Fan, Rochester.
Top Shelf Sports Talk. You're hanging out in the Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia on the Sports Leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950, The Fan, Rochester.
Cover 1's Greg Thompson joins us in the Sports Bar. It's always good to get you on with us, Greg, and to talk about the Buffalo Bills. Off to a nice start, and I can't help myself when we see the kind of performance that we're starting to see out of some of the star players on this roster. I look ahead and I think, okay, how's Brandon Beane going to manage all of this? And while we have you on, and we know how you like to analyze the Bills cap, and you're kind of like our resident capologist here with the Buffalo Bills, talk a little bit about what the future might look like with James Cook doing everything that he's done as a Buffalo Bill, because up to this point, it hasn't been Brandon Beane's MO to invest heavily in that position group outside of the draft. And so it leads me to wonder, like, will the Bills change course given what's happened around the rest of the NFL and say to themselves, you know what, James Cook is elite, and maybe he does deserve a big payday here. Not in the immediate future, obviously, but down the road.
Yeah, I think it's interesting. First, thanks for having me on again. Appreciate it. Always love jumping out with you guys. I think that it's interesting because of what we saw in the running back market this past year. So I'm not going to try to say that James Cook is on the same tier as these two players, but we just saw two teams that historically have been some of the most analytically inclined, some of the most savvy and strongest decision-making front offices, and that being Philadelphia and Baltimore, just signed the two biggest free agent contracts at running back in the offseason. Now, it was Saquon Barkley and Derrick Henry, and maybe the lesson learned from that is that elite talent, like difference-making talent at running back, still has a value, and that there's kind of a soft spot in the market where people have overcorrected to the running backs don't matter nonsense that gets thrown around. Now, I'm not sure where that fits with James Cook, because I can look back and there's an awful lot of Devin Singletary or Zach Moss, and then Devin Singletary, and then Ray Davis, and you're James Cook and Ray Davis, and we see they're like, hey, when it's a year or two out, we draft the next guy, and then you're going to let the other guy walk, and then you draft the next guy, and you're going to let the other guy walk. And there's enough history there that very obviously we don't spend money at running back. So it's hard for me to now assume that that's going to immediately pivot. So my first guess is that we get James Cook this year and next year, and in 2026, our running back room will be Ray Davis and whoever the fourth-round pick is that year, and we will rinse and repeat going forward. But I do leave it open that there is a window where there's a number that could make sense, and James Cook's value could net out with what we think it could be between what the market could get and maybe retaining it.
Yeah, this is what happens when you have a good draft class here, because I'm already looking at the 2022 draft class. Greg Thompson, our class. If you're trying to determine who gets paid next for the Buffalo Bills, I think a lot of us would say it's Greg Rousseau. Certainly the Bills making that decision with the fifth-year option. But then the fifth-year option, hard for me to imagine the Bills will say, yeah, we like what we saw out of Kyer Elam to make that decision next year, but after Elam, and these guys don't get a fifth-year option, it's only for the first round. You have Cook in the second round, Terrell Bernard in the third round, Shakir, who has developed into this unbelievable target for Josh Allen in the fifth round. Oh, and by the way, where do we put Christian Benford in all this, who may be arguably the best corner in the game today? Where do you begin here, Greg? Is it just who wants to take the deal first here? When does Brandon Beane begin here? Because I would think by the time training camp comes around next year, maybe one of these guys is a storyline here.
Yeah, so one, I think it's awesome that we are already talking about 2 years from now, because all these guys are under contract this year and 2025, and it's rightfully so, because the only impactful high snap count guys who are free agents next year are the current contributors who are 30 plus. So Amari Cooper, Rasul Douglas, technically guys like Mac Hollins and Dwayne Smoot who are playing snaps. But there are no starters outside of Cooper and Douglas that are free agents next year. So they're in great position that way, and they are doing that because they've gotten ahead of the curve with that player group that you listed. And that group, we already talked about Cook. So now you're talking about guys who I think the likelihood is a little bit higher, which I think the most likely is, if you're going to ask me to rank this and who I think I'm ready to guarantee, hey, this guy's going to be a Buffalo Bill in 2026, I think that, Bernard's probably the biggest lock. Just, he's the captain. Linebacker is one of the less crazy ones to pay. I think that checks out. Then you're probably pretty close in Shakir or Benford. Benford has flourished so much, but corners get paid, and I'm sure he's going to want to get paid a real number. The same thing. Receivers can get crazy numbers. I still think it's really likely that both of those guys are here and get paid, but it's less of a sure thing than Bernard is, just because Bernard checks so many boxes that way. I think those guys check a ton of boxes, but the one thing that goes against them is they play premium positions, and you never know what their agent is looking for. They could just want a crazy amount of money that we can't mess with at wide receiver or corner. That's going to be the toughest one. The biggest coin flip is Gregory Rousseau.
Yeah. Really?
I think that it's because, one, edge rushers get paid a lot. I think that they have a very strong interest in being able to retain him, but I think Rousseau is very interested in making a ton of money and being able to get a huge contract, and he deserves it. He is playing great. He is impacting both sides of the defense for run game and pass game. He is big. He is athletic. He is healthy. He's young. All of those things translate to a guy. I'll take it back this past year. I don't know that Jonathan Grenard is a guy that a ton of people, knew about coming out of Houston, and that the position that he was in when he was coming into free agency. And then you go out and you look and who is this guy, Jonathan Grenard, that just signed a $76 million contract? So I think that guys who are really good run defenders and contribute in the pass rush, but have the youth and the health and the age for the upside that, hey, maybe we're going to see more in the pass rush, are still getting paid just on that speculation. So now you add in the fact that Gregory Rousseau's fourth in the NFL in pressures right now. I'm really, really glad we checked that box for the fifth-year option and we lock him in at only $13 million next year, because it's not out of the question that he's like a 20 or 23, $25 million pass rusher when it comes up. So I think they'd love to retain him. I think it's right there at 50-50. I'm not saying he's going to leave, but when you're talking about, hey, it's probably 4 years and $100 million, that's never a guarantee.
Yeah, it's interesting, and the reason maybe we're asking about the class of free agency class of 2026 is because, well, Rousseau's right at the front of the pack there, right? Because he gets the extra year. Brandon Beane does have one thing he could use, and he hasn't used it in his time in Buffalo. The franchise tag. I mean, could you see that coming into play? Because it could be viewed as a hostile move, but in some negotiations, and Brandon Beane has always been, kind of open as far as, where players stand here. But which of these guys do you think would have the best value in terms of, hey, we're just going to tag you for a year here, and then we'll figure it out the following year?
So there's really only one, because unfortunately linebacker accounts for the Micah Parsons and the TJ Watts of the world, who are not linebackers, they're edge rushers. But unfortunately, the NFL doesn't allocate between edge and linebacker. So even though the Fred Warners of the world are actually the highest paid off-ball linebackers, the franchise tag next year, not even 2026, which is when Rousseau would come up, but in 2026 or 2025, it's $27 million. So I don't think that's obviously not in place for Terrell Bernard. The same thing. I love Khalil Shakir. I don't $25 million love Khalil Shakir. So that's not in play for Khalil Shakir. And I guess Christian Benford's, I mean, I guess it's theoretical. It's still $20 million. I don't think he's a $20 million guy. So I'm going to say that's probably not in play. I don't want to tag Gregory Rousseau, but honestly, like $24 million for the franchise tag isn't a crazy amount more than I think he's going to get paid anyways. That's when a franchise tag makes sense. When the franchise tag is, hey, I think you're going to get this amount of money anyways, and I can't afford to let you leave, so we're going to try to tag you. That's when it makes sense on the team side. The player never likes it, obviously. So I think Gregory Rousseau is the only one that's a possibility, but I certainly think for, one, the salary cap limitations, you can't lower that cap number. You have to fit all 25. It's $24.7 million next year. You have to fit every penny of that onto that year's salary cap. So there's a lot of incentive to reach an extension, and the player and the agent knows that too, that you're helping the team by doing that. So I think all of these guys, I would, if I was including Cook, I would rank Cook last out of the five just because of our history with running back. But I would put Rousseau fourth out of five because of the crazy amount of money I think he's going to get paid. I think all of them are in play for a late summer extension next year, like we've seen with Ed Oliver and Spencer Brown the last two off seasons.
Greg Thompson, Cover One, our guest here in the Sports Bar, Danger and Battaglia on the Fan, as we kind of look at the Bills under the hood a little bit here and look towards the future, what the salary cap could mean or what it could look like here for the Buffalo Bills. And looking into the future is one thing, Greg, but we can look right now in the present and tell me where the Bills stand, because if I'm understanding things right, the Evans release yesterday, the Darrington Evans release yesterday, I believe has us at 52. We know that Von Miller is coming back from suspension, but you know, Brandon Beane has said, no, I'm not necessarily done doing deals. We have until Tuesday. Are the Bills done? Could they be adding another player here at some point?
So I think that obviously I wouldn't set my sights at the Amari Cooper level, but we've also seen other trades in the past here where it's been, you know, we also added Dean Marlowe at the trade deadline one year, and we've had other moves that are, you know, hey, can we make this a more, you know, reasonable, you know, acquisition where all of a sudden we're trying to add depth and we're trying to just make it a little bit more reasonable of how we're bringing people in. So I think that it's very possible that we could see some moves like that and able to make a little bit more happen here. It doesn't have to be a Rasul Douglas or a Amari Cooper level trade, but I do think the defensive tackle is a spot that makes some sense. A guy who's playing really well for a team that is going nowhere and that we had in for a workout this offseason is Sebastian Joseph Day. He's a really impactful, versatile defensive lineman. He's a defensive tackle that can push outside and play strong side end. He can rush on third down. He has awesome metrics right now for Tennessee. Tennessee is going nowhere. We had him in for a visit because he was an option to sign in free agency, but obviously they decided to go another direction in what they ended up bringing in for free agency that year. But, you know, we've traded for Nyheim Hines in the past. We've traded for Dean Marlowe. We've traded for Case Keenum. You know, some of the moves have been lower level depth moves. They don't all have to be the Rasul Douglas, Amari Cooper level. Of course, it would be awesome if we go out and get a Zadarius Smith, or if we go out and get like a big time, you know, Budda Baker or something crazy. But anytime you're asking the other team to pay a bunch of money in order to get it down, because we are only able to trade for players that we trade for a minimum contract. We cannot fit any money onto our salary cap. I think that it's in play. So there are guys that, and I go through and make my Goldilocks list when I kind of create the trade targets. Just as an FYI, Amari Cooper was my number one Goldilocks list for wide receiver. I do have a guy like Sebastian Joseph Day at the top of my list for defensive tackles, but there are others. Malik Collins is a guy for San Francisco that could make sense. And honestly, Calais Campbell is a guy that if, you know, the Buffalo Bills can hand another loss to Miami, in-division teams don't like to make trades for guys they're going to see for future years. That's the reason that, Miami wouldn't want to trade us Javon Holland and then see him for another decade. Calais Campbell's been a Miami Dolphin for 8 months, and he isn't going to be one next year. So that's not something that stops an in-division trade from happening. So you have that combination. I think at safety, you could be able to go in and take a look at, some options that direction that maybe make some sense. But, is it more realistic that the safety is maybe somebody who's on their couch in Western New York right now? I think that there's some options that way too, that maybe we break glass in case of emergency and call back Mr. Hyde. So I think those are the two spots that make the most sense for me. Maybe there's I think the news we've heard on Matt Milano and now Bernard practicing today, I don't think linebacker is as in play as other people have thought it was, but safety and defensive tackle are ones that I could see a lower level move that makes some sense.
Greg, just your amount, are you surprised? A little, a lot, not at all? I mean, if I go back to August and there goes down Matt Milano, and you're looking at the Bills with all this dead cap, second most in the league, and we're looking at the wide receivers, and we're not really kind of impressed. I'm quite honestly, I'm surprised at how these younger players, by younger players, these players we were mentioning before, your Bernard's, Cook, Shakir, certainly Christian Benford. Is that not the real storyline this year? Because we're all talk about Josh Allen and how great he is, but how these guys all seemingly are coming into age here all at the same time.
It is pretty wild. So for as much crap as Sean McDermott rightfully gets, Brandon Beane rightfully gets, there are things that they've both done wrong. We're not real good at bringing a lot of praise when we see amazing halftime adjustments and second half blowouts. We don't praise the coaching staff for that. When we see, like, hey, you whiffed on this first round pick, well, how about the fact that he hit the sixth round pick out of the park? And there's some of these other things that are now coming to fruition where we're seeing younger guys develop into, and Terrell Bernard playing at an all-pro level, Khalil Shakir going from a fifth-round pick to a really reliable, at worst, wide receiver 2, seeing Christian Benford play at literally an all-pro level. He was PFF's first quarter of the season all-pro at corner coming out of the sixth round. Seeing that kind of value across the board, James Cook turning into the level of running back that he has, having that many hits, it really, really goes a long way. Obviously, we don't know what Keon Coleman's going to turn into, but it looks pretty darn good right now. Dwayne Carter had a lot of flashes before he went out. So people might focus on, hey, why isn't Cole Bishop playing more? Hey, why didn't Kyer Elam pan out? And that, yes, would it be awesome if every single pick was a hit? Sure, but no GM does that. We consistently call Howie Roseman the best GM in the league. Well, guess what? He picked Jalen Reagor one pick before Justin Jefferson. This stuff's hard.
Yeah. Greg, which Dolphins team do you think we get on Sunday? Do we get desperate Miami or defeated Miami?
So my history with this team tells us that I do think we will get a piece of desperate Miami right off the bat. They are going to be throwing everything they have at us. But I've also seen that team's got an awful lot of quit in them. And they are ready to roll over as soon as you give them the reason to. So this is going to be an important game to, if we get a little bit of an early lead, we stop them a couple times, they are going to roll over and be ready to go, plan their vacations real quick here. So there's enough talent there. The offense looked good enough against Arizona. Weirdly, their defense had been getting their stuff together, and the defense looked terrible against Arizona. So, I do think there's enough talent and speed and excitement on the offense that we've seen them trade blows with us for a while to open up a game. But I don't have real high expectations at this point.
Yeah, it just the betting line just seems a little fishy here to me. Like, wait a second, you beat this team by 21. They really haven't gotten their act together. You're only favoring Buffalo by 6. There's a lot of sharp money going on the Dolphins here for whatever reason with the points here, Greg. But your thoughts on what's ahead after this, because you get Joe Flacco again, the Colts. I mean, the Bills should still be only at 2 losses when they get to the Kansas City game in November, correct?
It certainly should. Nothing's guaranteed. We've just, claimed. Baltimore certainly thought that going into the Cleveland game. So you can't take anything for granted in this league. It's you have to take each game as it comes. But that's certainly what we should be expecting here. This is exactly what is going on. And I know we've had a couple of these games in the past. We almost did it with the Giants last year. We did it with the Broncos. We did it with the Patriots. We've had games where they should not have let anything slip in the way that they have. But this team seems to have their stuff together. We had a long stretch in McDermott's first 4 or 5 years where we never dropped those games. I think we're getting back a little bit into that here where they're going to take care of business. It doesn't have to be pretty. It doesn't have to be a lot of style points, but just get a W, move on, survive, get ready for this gauntlet that they have with Kansas City, Detroit, San Francisco, and LA.
Greg, great insight as always, and we appreciate you giving us some of your time. Tell our audience where they can spend some more of their time with you and the content you're pumping out at Cover One.
Of course. As soon as you guys get done hanging out with the guys here and listening, come on over, check us out at Cover One. You can find us everywhere that you listen for podcasts, online streams. You can search on YouTube, or you can find me at Greg Thompson on Twitter. Come and ask me any questions you might have. We'll hang out.
Your guy Turner, he played for Fisher, did he not?
He did. He was a running back.
Running back. What year?
I think mid-2000s.
Mid-2000s, okay.
Gino's
He's a couple years younger than me. I graduated. I played from 99 to 03 out in Ohio, but he was a couple years younger than me.
Okay, so who did you play for, Greg?
Baldwin Wallace. I played D3 out in Cleveland.
All right, there we go. Yep, I know all these names.
Gene's going back through his mental Rolodex of names that he's called doing play-by-play.
Fisher, yeah, I'm like, somebody told me Eric Turner played for Fisher. I'm like, really? He just looks like
yeah, I had a fun run.
Looks like he's 25 still. Yeah, go ahead. So.
I was out in the OAC playing there with my freshman year was London Fletcher was at John Carroll, and then my senior year was Pierre Garçon was at Mount Union.
Yeah.
And during that stretch, Nick Sirianni and I both came from the same area down in the southern tier in Western New York, and he went to Mount Union and I went to Baldwin Wallace, playing against each other that whole time. So lots of people I played against that are way more famous than me, but it was a lot of fun.
Fantastic stuff, Greg. Appreciate the time, man. Enjoy the rest of your week.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Greg Thompson, Cover One, stopping by the sports bar to share some insight on the Bills cap and look ahead to Sunday's matchup against the Dolphins.
It's going to be a storyline next year. Look, we don't need to really dive into who Brandon Beane's going to pay, but all these guys are going to come up at once. And when you pay the first guy, is everybody going to look around at each other and go, what about me?
Yeah. And a lot can happen between now and that day of reckoning. And there will be, the only constant is change.
But day of reckoning, you don't want any of these guys really to go into free agency. We saw it with Spencer Brown. Like, hey, right before the season started, here's a new contract. Okay,
right.
Problem solved. So
I keep thinking about the predicament that Trey White finds himself in here. And this is a player that I think a lot of us wanted to see play his entire career in Buffalo. And he was beloved. And just everything that you want.
Yeah.
And
2 plays, it's over.
Two plays, and it's over. It's a cruel, cruel business. And now he can't get on the field in L.A., and who knows what team he ends up for here beyond Tuesday. There might be some of those kind of decisions that Brandon Beane might have to make about players that we're talking about right now, not because he wants to, but because he has to, and because injuries happen or production falls.
Wait till Christian Benford gets the tag of All-Pro.
Yeah.
That's going to, like America doesn't know about Christian Benford, and like, oh, here we are. Yeah, that's it. Can you afford that?
And quickly before we go to break, because we talked about this earlier in the week when we called the race for the AFC East.
We at the sports bar, we are calling the race over in the AFC East. It's over.
You're going to hear it a lot here between now and Tuesday, obviously, and a little bit beyond Tuesday as well. The Bills can actually clinch. I don't know if you saw this. As soon as Week 11.
Okay, so what is Week 11? This week is Week 9 coming up.
Yep. Well,
what?
They have to go 3-0 over their next 3.
They could clinch with a win over the Chiefs?
If they go 3-0 over their next 3, and the rest of the division goes 0-3 over their next 3, the Bills will clinch as soon as Week 11.
Now, they can't imagine that, but I could imagine. I said the San Francisco game. That's 13.
Yeah. There have only been 4 teams in NFL history that have clinched in Week 11. The Bills would be the 5th. They need to go 3-0. The rest of the division needs to go 0-3.
Like, it's seeding. That's what I want to know. Can the Bills get to the 2? Can they get the 1? Well, if they beat the Chiefs, the Chiefs have a cupcake schedule. They really do. Yes, there's divisional games in there, but I think the 2 seed is the honest target here for Buffalo. That should be the goal.
We haven't done any McDermott McLies today.
We should do some. Oh, wait a second. Who are they playing this week?
They're playing Miami.
Oh my gosh, Danger! This team, they're fantastic.
McDermott could really hit us with some doozies this week. In fact, it took a lot of restraint to not hit the bell during your sports update when McDermott was talking about Miami's offense.
Wait, can you play that update or play that one we were using the update? Like, Sean McDermott, what do you think of the Miami offense?
Yeah, I think they're back to being that offense that we know, and so explosive, so dynamic, so potent in what they do and how they do things. I think Coach McDaniel does a great job of putting them into great positions, and so they're very tough.
It's 6 and 17 seconds. Oh, we could have a lot of fun with it.
It's a killer pace. Happy hour is next. We have time for your calls, 866-4326. If you want to pull up a stool, 585-866-4326. And by the way, let's do this now as well, Gino. Let's give away another pair of tickets, free tickets to see Dweezil Zappa. His guitar wants to kill your mama. And you can get those free tickets before you can buy them Friday when they go on sale at 10 a.m. He's coming to Kodak Center April 15th, 2025. Dweezil Zappa, 2 free tickets now, 866-4326. Caller 5. Good luck from the Sports Bar.
You're listening to the Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia. 95.7 FM and AM 950. The Fan, Rochester.
Mike Danger for FanDuel Sportsbook, official partner of 95.7 The Fan. The NBA is back, and FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook, wants you to catch all the action. Right now, FanDuel is giving everyone 3 months of NBA League Pass. All you have to do is catch every tip-off and buzzer beater, place a $5 bet on the NBA and get 3 months of NBA League Pass, courtesy of FanDuel. All you need to do is visit FanDuel.com/Mike to make every moment more this season. That's FanDuel.com/Mike, M-I-K-E. Make every moment more with FanDuel, official sportsbook partner of the NBA. 21 plus and physically present in New York. After 3-month free trial, the full price of League Pass will be automatically charged monthly. Cancel anytime, no refunds. Terms, restrictions, and embargoes apply. Limit 1 pass per customer. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. For help with a gambling problem, call 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369.
The sports leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950 The Fan, Rochester, is everywhere. Why settle for the silence of your living room when you can have the thrill of sports talk? Ask your smart speaker to play 95.7 The Fan and turn your home into a sports arena.
Breaking news from the Fan Rochester is presented by BetQL. Smarter bets start with BetQL. Download the BetQL app or visit BetQL.com today.
Debbie Supplies on Commercial Street in East Rochester, right off the 490. Heating, hardware, paint, plumbing, electrical, you name it, Debbie Supply has it. Plus a friendly, knowledgeable staff that can show you how to get that home improvement project done. Since 1957. Your next home improvement project, think outside the box and head on over to Debbie Supply, Commercial Street, East Rochester.
Inside out for folks who know what they're talking about. Gotta go to Debbie. Gotta go to Debbie Supply for that.
Hey, this is Gene Battaglia. Join us for the excitement of St. John Fisher University football this season here on the Fan Rochester. This Saturday, it's the final road game of the season as the Cardinals play at Alfred. Our pregame coverage begins at 12:30. St. John Fisher football is brought to you in part by Camp Good Days and Special Times, Canandaigua National Bank and Trust, Monroe Roadways, Whitney & Company, and by Top Notch Monogramming. St. John Fisher football. Coverage begins this Saturday at 12:30 here on the Fan Rochester.
Today at GetMyPerks.com, get a half-price certificate to Selena's Mexican Restaurant in the Village Gate. For over 25 years, Selena's has been serving the best Mexican cuisine in Rochester. And now, Selena's is open until midnight with a late-night happy hour and delicious all-new menu items featuring something for everyone, including gluten-free and vegetarian options. So get your half-price certificate to Selena's Mexican Restaurant in the Village Gate today at GetMyPerks.com.
Save, save, save. GetMyPerks.com.
leader, 95. The Fan, Rochester, an Odyssey sports station. The Fan, Rochester, sports update.
Bills wide receiver Amari Cooper has a wrist injury. Was working off to the side today at practice. Other players that were limited today, Curtis Samuel, Reggie Gilliam, and Terrell Bernard. Head coach Sean McDermott is not concerned with what is behind him in the AFC East.
I don't worry about it, really. I worry about what we do, and we drive from here to home and back. You guys know the drill, but that's good. That's what's kind of good, too, is I don't really know who's doing well and who's not, other than just things that we need to work on and things we can get better at.
Coverage begins at 9 a.m. Sunday, and we'll have the kickoff at 1 o'clock here on the Sports Leader. Game 5 of the World Series is tonight. The Yankees need to win to stay alive. It's Garrett Cole going to the mound. The Dodgers countering with Jack Flaherty. Sports is brought to you by GetMyPerks.com. Save half off to Lasertron in Henrietta. Gene Battaglia on the Sports Leader, the Fan, Rochester.
The Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia.
You know, there's been 5 games that they've played since we've played them. So, yeah, we look at everything. Coach McDaniel does a great job along with his staff of being really creative and putting these guys in positions and making a lot of big plays. And the speed that they have, as I've said before, is unmatched around the league.
Mike Danger.
I have zero faith in Miami making it competitive. I think the Bills are going to just throttle them on Sunday. I don't see the Dolphins as a team playing inspired football. I see them kind of checked out. Maybe we see a game that is so lopsided that it looks like Miami has quit on their coach and they have to start making tough decisions right away.
Gene Battaglia.
Can the Bills move the ball on Miami? Yes. It doesn't have to be complicated here. It really doesn't. It should be just James Cook. And then once you soften it up a little bit, bam. Honestly, like that to me is the beginning and the end of this conversation here of Buffalo-Miami.
Yeah.
95.7 FM and AM 950 The Fan, Rochester.
Happy hour in the Sports Bar. We're glad you're with us. Thanks for joining us at 95.7 FM, AM 950. You can get us on your smart device when you ask it to play 95.7 The Fan. We're in the free-to-download Odyssey app, and our stream is up. You can watch the Sports Bar on our YouTube channel at The Fan Rochester, also streaming on Twitch at The Fan Rochester. It's Wednesday. We heard from Coach McDermott. We saw Josh Allen at Game 4 at Yankee Stadium yesterday. He spoke to the media today. There's a lot to get to here before we get to tonight's Game 5 as the Yankees look to extend that series back to L.A.
Yeah, as that was a lot of fun last night, I thought, right from the get-go. I mean, we're not the show that's going to be, shame on you, fans. Shame, shame. Someone could get hurt.
I mean, I think if you can't find a little bit of joy in those two guys doing what they did, then I really don't know if there's any saving you. I understand. I'm not saying what they did was right. There's a protocol for how a fan should behave. But that's just the delusion of it that makes me laugh uncontrollably. The idea that these guys actually believed they were defending their wall. They were defending their turf. You can't come here, Mookie Betts. We're going to grab your arm. We're going to grab your mitt. We're going to affect the outcome of this game in any way we can because we care, damn it, more than the team even does at that point.
Like what other instance? I mean, we just had one in Washington Sunday, Danger. I'm sorry, but the fans kind of baiting your Bears corner there, and they got him off his mark. But this is a little different. Look, it did cross the line. Okay, we can kind of admit that.
Yes, but the difference, it's an interesting study when you consider the Jeffrey Meyer game from all those years ago, right? What happened with that situation? How, everybody was waving their finger, shame. I mean, Bartman did it to his own team, so he went into hiding. Completely different situation. These guys will have a podcast by the end of the week with endorsements and sponsors and a following, and they'll probably have Mike Francesa as their first guest on their new podcast, sponsored by Barstool.
Oh, who cares?
Danger, I think Jeffrey Meyer is a hero. You get one of the stories like, hey, he's in college, or hey, he's working here, like he's a grown man now. And that was before replay, and the umpires blew it. Like, clearly, like any fan will want to do that. Hey, that's not a home run. Takes it away. I mean, that to me is like the biggest fan kind of impacting their team positively. What happened last night, there's kind of a line, right? It is in foul territory.
Yeah, the line is this wall right here. We're protecting this wall because we're Italian.
Betts makes a heck of a play. He's got the glove, but you can't rip the glove off. You can't hold his other hand. You can't just pop the ball out magically.
I just think it's amazing. And they were just ripping at it. I mean, they were going at it like Peanut Tillman. Like they were trying to do a peanut punch on that ball.
Stop calling Met fans social misfits. And on behalf of my fellow Met fans.
What?
That's
you
like
inserting the Mets into this conversation proves all I need to know about you as a social misfit. This isn't even about you. If it was the Mets,
that's misfitian behavior. I know it when I see it. That's a little misfit there. That's taking a little.
If I look at the still photos close enough, and maybe I don't even need to squint, the guy kind of looked like Grimace
He does
personified.
Does have a few chins, and the fingers are all mangled.
Kind of looked like Grimace a little bit. And then the footnote to this story from today. And I imagine this is true because why would Gronk lie to us? Gronk partied with these guys as a college student. He knows these guys from his time at the University of Arizona. And he's like, yeah, back then, these guys threw down. They were animals. I'm not saying what they did was right, but he knows who they are. He's aware of them. They were club hockey players in Arizona. He's like, yeah, they were crazy then. I'm sure it hasn't changed now. And let's face it, those seats are not cheap. These guys probably have, either they were passed down or they have some level of success in their life. They're not, a couple of guys.
No, they own the season tickets,
yeah.
So they're successful. What the Yankees have done is they've refunded them for tonight. So they are not allowed in tonight. You're allowed back next year, but not tonight. Let's kind of let this blow over here. Boy, that was what Fat Joe was supposed to do. Just get everybody kind of energized and funny. The Yankees hit last night, but they're still a sloppy team here, Danger. And I thought Dave Roberts like, okay, you know what? I'm just going to bring out my worst relievers. I'm going to save everybody for games 5, 6, and then 7. But what happened with the Yankees and Red Sox, it was a funny thing. I mean, it was just one. It was actually Roberts stealing that base, ironically. Yep. And then you get to get one more game, and then all of a sudden it goes back to Yankee Stadium, and then everything starts to get a little tighter. So if you're a Yankee fan, all you got to do is win tonight, and you got your best guy in the mound in Garrett Cole.
That's right.
So can he step up? And here's my memo to Aaron Boone. Unlike game 1 when you took him out. Do not take out Garrett Cole. Ride him as long as you can tonight. You went to the bullpen too early in game 1, and what happened? So Garrett Cole can have some success. By the way, Garrett Cole, also go right at Ohtani tonight. That is not Shohei Ohtani. I'm sorry. Like, it's him physically, but that's not the same guy with just one arm out there.
Yeah, it's funny. You could mention a bunch of different turning points through the course of this series. Is if it does end up being extended, we all are pulling for a Game 7, right? I'd love to see this go 7. It'd be historic because I don't think any of these teams that have been down 3-0 in the World Series have even ever forced a Game 6, if I'm not mistaken. So a win tonight would be a pretty historic one for the Yankees, given the situation that they're in, the spot that they're in. I think we're all kind of pulling for it just because we want to see this end up to be the kind of good series that we hoped it would be. But is the bigger turning point fans ripping the ball out of Mookie Betts' mitt, or is it Shohei Ohtani slightly separating his shoulder? Because it feels to me like the Dodgers, the constant has been Freddie Freeman. You've got glue guys that are contributing and making plays when you need them to, but Shohei doesn't appear to be the same Shohei that we knew all season long.
No, so go after Shohei. Take your bets with Bet. No pun intended. Do not pitch to Freeman. Stop with that. Go after Teoscar Hernandez. Would you take this bet tonight? Plus 500 for Freddie Freeman to homer again. Now that's pretty crazy that you're going to do that on any player in any game, but that looks awfully tempting, plus 500.
I don't like it with Cole on the mound. But, I mean, if he did it again, would any of us be shocked?
You did it in game number 1.
Late.
Who did he homer? I have to look at that.
Yeah. I know he could do it. Obviously, he could do it. I just don't know if I like him doing it against Cole. So that's tonight. And, boy, we are blessed. I hope you have the means and the opportunity to spend as much time outside as you can. I know I'll be in the screened-in garage tonight enjoying Game 5 because we've got unbelievable weather for late October. Tomorrow's going to be fantastic for Halloween if anybody is going out and doing the trick-or-treating thing with their kids, or if they're just staying back and handing out candy. Whatever the case may be, we are very fortunate. It looks like this weekend's going to be nice, too, for for the Week 9 matchup between the Bills and the Dolphins.
Yeah, it's, November football. Kind of weird. Does anybody else think this is weird that the line started at Buffalo favored by 6.5 and now it's gone down to 6? Like, there is literally money coming in on the Dolphins. Like, ooh, this is the Dolphins season. They've got to win this game. Like, wasn't that last week? Or I don't know. It just
I want to know if the Dolphins are actually desperate or if the Dolphins are actually defeated.
Can they be both? And I think Craig Tom's kind of put it bluntly. Like, there's a lot of quit in that team. Like, if they get down, we saw this the last time, like, that was a fun game at the beginning, 14-14, Miami and Buffalo, and all of a sudden it started going sideways, and then it's not a game in the fourth quarter last year up here. So I personally, and I'm not being homerish, I'm sorry, but I think this is kind of lining up well here for Buffalo. But when you listen to Sean McDermott, though, maybe he's going to get us thinking that the Dolphins are going to be, rivaling that team that went undefeated under Don Shula.
No, we look at everything. There's been, I think, roughly 5 games that they've played since we've played them. We look at everything. Again, I think Coach McDaniel does a great job along with his staff of being really creative and putting these guys in positions and making a lot of big plays. And the speed that they have, as I said before, is unmatched around the league.
The McDermott heaping praise on Miami's offense is pretty good.
Yeah.
A 16-second clip, and he is lying at a record pace here.
Yeah, I think they're back to being that offense that we know, and so explosive, so dynamic, so potent in what they do and how they do things. I think Coach McDaniel does a great job of putting them into great positions, and so they're very tough.
Nice work. We did hear an update, and I think this is the first update we've had on Matt Milano in some time. This is head coach Sean McDermott earlier today on the status, an update on his linebacker.
I don't know a lot of the detail. I just kind of know a big picture view of Matt. He's moving in the right direction. I see him every day. He's one of the leaders on our football team, and I've even felt that, I may have mentioned this last week, so I felt that more this year even than I did last year. I think the rehab process this year with this injury is slightly different than last year's situation, so it's enabled him to be around more this year and be a positive influence on our football team in the linebacker room and the defensive room and overall. And you see him on the sideline during games too, and his influence is important down there for me and for us. So I think we're moving in the right direction. Any more detail on that I couldn't give you right now.
When talking about we get to Tuesday, the trade deadline, that'll be the biggest pickup when we get to December. Were we hoping December, Matt Milano? Is that realistic there, Danger, do you think?
I'm not holding my breath, man.
Yeah.
I'm really not.
Well, the way they slow play this always, yeah.
I'm really not. I mean, I want to see what that ramp-up looks like if you do get him at some point later this year. The bigger question I have is, what are you getting? Because the last time we saw Matt Milano, he was a good player, but that was over a year ago. And even at training camp, he looked like Matt Milano, but he was a little bit more hesitant, a little bit more cautious on how he was moving around.
Yeah, you could see him visibly testing out that leg.
Mm-hmm.
So we're talking about the latest injury there with the bicep, but like you forget, wait a second, he's coming off this knee injury that wasn't your typical knee injury.
Right.
So it was a big rehab.
Speaking of injuries, Amari Cooper not on the field earlier, but then does go on the field eventually. Coach McDermott saying he wouldn't participate today. He was limited in today's practice dealing with a wrist injury, so he had that taped up, and he was out there for the portion of practice that was open to the media. Curtis Samuel and Terrell Bernard also practicing in a limited fashion during today's practice in Orchard Park. Bills-Dolphins coming up Sunday, 1 o'clock, the kickoff here on the Fan Rochester. Our pregame coverage gets underway at 9. There was another bit of Bills news today that kind of flew under the radar, Gino, and it's another story about a firm or a group looking to purchase a portion of the team. Arctos Partners. Now, any NFL team can have a private equity purchase up to 10% of the team to any fund, and each fund can hold up to 10% and up to 6 teams. So we've got this giant land grab for these private equity funds to become part owners of teams.
It's funny, like things that you can guarantee ROI. NFL football.
Yes.
Like it really, like, tell me when you had the downturn. We had a terrible downturn in 2020. Nope. Train keeps on moving along. Concussions. Nope. Train keeps coming out. Like, of course they were going to be wanting to look, but who's putting the story out? Like, how did this get out? We have the story of, remember that Vince Carter, Tracy McGrady?
Yeah.
And, like, wow, that would be kind of cool.
And if I'm not mistaken, I think this is a group that includes Curtis Samuel, former NFL running back. Not Curtis Samuel.
I'm like Curtis
Curtis
Samuel.
Martin. Curtis Martin. Jeez, I'm sorry.
That would be
Curtis
some-
Martin.
You're gonna play me more. What are you doing? I am the owner of this team. Don't you know?
Gene's head just exploded. I've never not seen your eyes roll back into the back of your head. No, I'm sorry for the I misspoke there. It was Curtis Martin, Hall of Fame running back.
Dude, I am the king of misspeaking. All right,
That
you got a
was,
long way to get. My point is, like, you get these stories kind of put out there because you know what? You want bidding to go higher. This is a closed process. If you want a piece of the Bills or any other NFL team, then you know what? They're not going to tell you what the other guy bid, but they're going to let you know who else might be in the mix here. So up the bid there a little bit there for whether you're Tracy McGrady's group or Curtis Martin's.
Thank you. We also should mention, because we've been kind of talking about it all week, and Tuesday is Election Day, and we're all going to go out and do our civic duty, and you're going to hear a lot over the course of the next 7 days. We're ready to call this race.
We've already called the race. In fact, we did it Monday. On the Victory Monday, we called the AFC East for the Buffalo Bills. Our projections show that the division winner in 2024 will be the Buffalo Bills. So the AFC East, see what I do here? It's going red and blue and white.
Oh, or purple.
That's the team colors.
Yes, I get it. All that needs to happen for the Bills to clinch the AFC East as soon as Week 11, they need to go 3-0 over their next three, and the rest of the division needs to go 0-3 their next three. So we know that the Bills play the Dolphins this weekend. New England is at Tennessee. Could happen.
That could happen.
And, of course, the Jets are hosting Houston tomorrow night.
Jets at Arizona, home against the Colts. I still think 49er game on a Sunday night. And it's not going to be the December of resting guys danger because you want to get a better playoff seed. I wouldn't want to be the 4 because who might you get in the 4? Who didn't win the AFC North? Chuck's notes, Baltimore.
Yeah.
Sorry. No, thank you. I would want to be the 2 and get some team like Denver coming on in. Come on in. Congratulations. Welcome to the playoffs. Now you can be on your merry way.
Dude, they this could actually play out. When you look at who New England in Week 10, they travel to Chicago.
Loss.
The Miami Dolphins Week 10, Monday night game in Los Angeles to take on the Rams.
Loss.
And the Jets have to travel to the desert to take on the Cardinals in Week 10.
Okay, so we get to Week 11.
Week 11. Week 11, Vegas travels to Miami. But Miami has shown that they will give up games at home, as they just did to the Cardinals. The Raiders at Miami in Week 11. You have the Jets hosting the Colts Week 11. And you have the Patriots hosting the Rams Week 11.
Could we see the Colts in a matter of 3 weeks get flexed into Sunday Night Football and gets flexed out of Sunday Night Football? So this week they got flexed in.
Yeah.
And I don't know. They like to have that one back because it's the Colts and Vikings. Okay, I want to see the Vikings. I'm not really, Joe Flacco, whatever. Do you know that game on November 17th, the Jets and Colts at Sunday Night Football?
Yeah.
And if you're wondering, oh, my gosh, that means the Bills and Chiefs. I think it's one of those instances.
They can't.
Nope, it's protected by CBS on that.
That's one that CBS wants, and they will get the Bills hosting Kansas City in Week 11. So that won't get flexed into that slot. And that is, like, to me, the hardest, obviously the biggest hurdle for the Bills to go 3-0 over their next 3 weeks would be that Kansas City matchup. But you look at their opponents. I mean, it's a long shot to say that the Dolphins, the Patriots, and the Jets will all go 0-3 over the next 3 weeks for the Bills to be able to clinch in Week 11. But still, I mean, like, okay, so when are we clinching here? Week 12, Week 13? I mean, you're really clinching before you even get to the month of December the way it's going right now.
So how do you stay sharp? Like that's going to be a storyline too, where, okay, you beat the Dolphins up and you're going to go play the Colts, yawn. We've seen the Bills in the past, Danger, get sloppy here, where things are looking good and then you lose to Urban Meyer. Things are looking good and you lose to Mac Jones. I mean, here's what's different. It's such a young team, and the more we talk about this new nucleus of Bills, and sure, all these guys are not getting paid right now. They have something to work toward, all as kind of a group, and it's a conversation that we bring up there. When do you pay Cook? When do you pay Shakir, Greg Rousseau, all these guys? And you really don't have to answer that question until after next season, but it's going to come up sooner than you think.
I just think it's remarkable that they're doing what they're doing with the roster that they have and all of the dead cap money that they're carrying. Never in a million years would I have thought that we would be talking about this team clinching the division before we get to the month of December, but that's where this team is right now. Is they sit at 6-2, and if they go, they could clinch as early as Week 11. If they go 3-0, and if the rest of the division goes winless over the next 3 weeks, yeah, it's a long shot, but I think it drives home the point that they are in absolute command of the AFC East, even with that roster, even with that dead cap money. And if they continue on this path, and if Josh Allen continues to play the way he's playing, I think you're talking about an MVP candidate. I don't think Sean McDermott's going to be a Coach of the Year candidate,
No.
but this might be his best coaching job to date.
Yeah. You're welcome to call us anytime, 866-4FAN, 866-4326. Not from your neighborhood, but he is from Rochester. Tony.
Hey, Tony. Hey.
It's been a minute, Tony.
Hey!
What's going on?
Not much, man. You guys, I love the show, but you can't talk about the Bills like this. Pinching early. You're jinxing them, man. You're jinxing them. You can't do it.
What? What are we jinxing?
I don't believe in jinxes, Tony. I do not believe in jinxes. I don't believe in bad luck. I don't believe in bad juju. You create your own luck.
I don't either, but, man, sometimes things are better left said unspoken. That's all I'm saying. You can't bring it up too early.
Tony feels like a remnant from the drought era Bills. Like I'm not nervous about this weekend. I'm not. And if they do crap the bed and Miami finds a way to win on Sunday, their season's still they're in good shape for the rest of the season.
They're just fine. Yeah. Like this vaunted Jets team firing their head coach, and they haven't won a game since.
Well, at least Aaron Rodgers has found an elixir to prolong his youth.
I saw this. What is it? Cayenne pepper?
Yeah, cayenne pepper and water. Tony, thanks for the call. I don't want to be critical because I'm the guy that'll put butter in my coffee with the MCT oil and do the bulletproof coffee thing.
At least you're not doing the mayo in coffee.
I won't do that.
No.
That feels kind of weird. I did an egg just once. I wanted to try it.
Ugh.
I heard egg in your coffee, like just to get a little kick of protein, and I tried that once. I'm like, no, this ain't working for me. And that experiment failed. I'm not doing cayenne in the water though. Yeah, I don't know about that. I know I'm sure there are plenty.
Does it taste good? I wonder.
There are plenty of. We should do a taste test.
Well, the cynic in me would think, we get a new product that's going to be rolled out, endorsed by Aaron Rodgers, because all of a sudden, like, hey, Aaron, how you feeling? I feel great today because one of my teammates suggested cayenne pepper. I don't believe anything.
You don't need a Pedialyte. You don't need Gatorade. You need this product that has real cayenne pepper mixed in with the water.
Because Aaron Rodgers says, do this, don't do this. Yeah.
Let's get to a round of shots next on the Fan.
Yeah, we'll give you an update here on Connor McDavid. Also, these two, I don't know, heroes, fans, whatever we want to call them. We have a new manager in Major League Baseball. I don't know if this guy really is going to enjoy this job, though, coming up in the summer. We'll explain that. The NBA has fined the 76ers, that and more.
You're listening to the Sports Ball. Sports Update.
Amari Cooper has a wrist injury. He was working off to the side at today's practice. Other players that were limited, Curtis Samuel, Reggie Gilliam, and Terrell Bernard. Head coach Sean McDermott on that Dolphin offense.
Yeah, I think they're back to being that offense that we know, and so explosive, so dynamic, so potent in what they do and how they do things. I think Coach McDaniel does a great job of putting them into great positions, and so they're very tough.
Coverage begins at 9 a.m. this coming Saturday, and then Chris Brown, Eric Wood, Sal Capaccio will have your call at 1 o'clock. Game 5 of the World Series tonight. The Yankees sending out Garrett Cole to keep their season alive. The Dodgers countering with Jack Flaherty. Gene Battaglin, the sports leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950, The Fan, Rochester.
The best local sports talk in the Flower City. One Bills Live in the Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia. Weekday afternoons on The Fan, Rochester.
Happy hour continues. Danger and Battaglia on The Fan. It's time for a round of shots.
We now know the identities of the two jabronis kicked out of Yankee Stadium.
I'm sorry, did you say jabronis or heroes? Because I heard heroes. Well,
it's all based on your viewpoint here, I suppose. They're not allowed in, by the way, tonight. The Yankees refunded their money. The team putting out a statement, waving their finger. All this behavior is not acceptable.
Yeah.
38-year-old Austin Capobianco.
Hey!
He's the season ticket holder from Connecticut.
Hey!
He's the guy that you say kind of looked like Grimace, forcefully grabbing the glove of Mookie Betts, eventually ripping the ball out. His buddy is named John Peter. John Peter seen holding Betts' throwing hand to make all this happen. Capobianco giving an interview to ESPN. We're not going out of our way to attack. If it's in our area, we're going to deal.
That's right. We're on the field, pal. We're right there defending our turf for our Yankees. We want this game more than these bums do out there. They can't go past this line. That's our ball. Of course he feels that way because he's a diet.
These guys, where are they tonight? They were cutting away to whatever bar it was in the Bronx. Like, they're going to be watching there, right? And they're going to go in, be signing autographs, taking pictures of people, right?
Oh, these guys,
Yeah.
my joke all day has been they're going to have a podcast by the end of the week, and they'll have subscribers and sponsors and endorsements. These guys are going to be notorious moving forward. Yes, absolutely.
Will Venable is a guy who has a new job, Danger.
Oh, congratulations.
It's one in which to envision anyone could succeed. Venable is the new manager of the Chicago White Sox. He can't be any worse than last season, right? 121 losses, setting the major league record. Venable spent the last 2 seasons as the associate manager of the Texas Rangers alongside Bruce Bochy. He was chosen from a long list of candidates.
Yeah, sure he was. He's affordable. First-time gig, and you're right. There's upside because you can't do it worse than what you did last year. Yikes.
Hey, we were only at 100 losses. You get to keep your job.
Yeah, that's okay. Well, best of luck, I guess. I was going through this exercise with my buddy Tony. Of course, his name is Tony. He's also a Bears fan, but we were already speculating, like, all right, what are they going to do when they fire Eberflus this year? Who's going to be?
Wait, hold on. Whoa.
What?
They have a winning record.
Did you hear the stat that PJ threw out there?
The
guy doesn't win on the road on Sundays. He hasn't won on the road on a Sunday.
Well, they play all different days, don't they?
Yeah. He's not good. He's not good. We all recognize, like, yeah, we have a winning record, but our coach is a problem, and the offensive coordinator ain't great either. But it's an organization, and I'm bringing this up because it's in Chicago as well. The White Sox are this way. The Bears are this way. Like, if you're Ben Johnson and you're the Detroit Lions offensive coordinator who turned down jobs last year because reportedly he wanted to be paid as a top 5 coach in the league and he wanted full control of the roster, like, forget it. That's not the guy that the Bears are going to get. Like, they're going to get the associate offensive coordinator from whatever offense, the up-and-comer that'll come and do it for cheap.
The new head coach of the Chicago Bears in 2025, welcome in Joe Brady.
Yeah, I don't know if that would work. I mean, sure, but honestly, like, that feels almost too rich for their blood. I don't know that that's the kind of guy that they would go after.
Will those guys get interviews?
Joe Brady?
And Babbage.
Brady, yes. Babbage, I don't
Not yet.
think so.
Not yet.
Brady, yes. Babbage, not so sure yet.
Connor McDavid, turns out he has an ankle injury. He's going to be out 2 to 3 weeks. So for hockey fans, phew.
Yes.
6 games in the NHL tonight. TNT has Vegas and the LA Kings at 10 o'clock. Sabres next in action coming up Friday night at home against the Islanders.
That's actually good news because it could have been a lot worse given what we saw. 2 to 3 weeks sucks, but it's not an ACL. It's an ankle. That's good. Hopefully we see him on the ice again sooner rather than later.
Week 9 of the NFL season begins tomorrow night with the Texans and Jets. Hide your excitement here, folks. The Jets making a move as they've moved off their Greg Zuerlein problem.
Hey.
The team placing the kicker on IR today. So the Jets kicker for Thursday night, well, it's either going to be Riley Patterson or some guy named Spencer Schrader. Both these guys signed to the practice squad today. They are among 6 kickers who auditioned Tuesday at MetLife Stadium.
Zuerlein's been terrible this year. The IR designation, what is the injury? What did we hear about this injury? Do you know about this injury?
Whatever.
I feel like they're
Mysterious.
making it up
Yeah.
as they go, as teams may do from time to time as far as how they designate some of these injuries. The timing of these injuries around the trade deadline are also I'm sure Deontay Johnson's feeling much better, and we'll see him in the lineup this weekend.
Yeah, I just don't know why they just didn't cut Zuerlein outright. Some injury settlement. Following up on the investigation in the NBA regarding the playing status of Philadelphia big man Joel Embiid, the NBA has fined the team $100,000.
However, will they recover?
The investigation determined, though, that the 76ers did not violate player participation policy. Why did they fine him then? Well, because the team made statements that were inconsistent with Embiid's health status.
Okay.
Whatever. Sixers tonight hosting Detroit. 11 games in the NBA tonight. The doubleheader on ESPN is the Celtics and Pacers at 7, followed by the Spurs and the Thunder.
Yeah, I don't know how they did it, but they really kind of made it seem as if there is justification for Joel Embiid taking time off, even though he played in the Olympics. That this is a knee condition that the stability isn't there, and it didn't get any better during the Olympics, and he needs to manage his like they're making a medical case for Joel Embiid to not play consistently for this team.
Again, I could listen to that. I could hear that. He lost weight, but you lost me at that you played in the Olympics.
Right.
That's the part where okay. Yeah. Finally, where many, including myself, critical of the performance by Fat Joe in Game 3 in the World Series. There was another bad performance in Game 4. Former New York Yankee Paul O'Neill throwing out the first pitch. He airmailed it. The pitch was so bad he was granted a do-over.
Man, given where I'm at physically as I approach a milestone age, I know it doesn't look it, but I'll be 70 in January.
No, it's full stop. John in Rochester, he is the guy that doesn't look his age. You look your age.
That's my hero.
Yeah.
What a role model for all of us. I know we've campaigned in the past to throw out a first pitch at a Red Wings game. I don't know that I can do it anymore.
I don't know if I can campaign anymore.
The campaign is over.
Yeah,
I mean, if I go up there, the latest example of my failing physical health was just a couple of weeks ago, and I'm still dealing with the ill effects of trying to swing a golf club like Happy Gilmore and crumbling because my bad knee, my surgically repaired knee, gave out on me, and it still hurts. I'm still not right. Don't tell my wife. I think I partially tore my ACL again. I don't know. There's got to be a physical therapist who could diagnose what I did.
So, all right, I'm no doctor. You're walking along and all of a sudden you get that zap of pain then? Or
It doesn't happen, no, because it's not like it used. I remember when I did tear my ACL, there were moments throughout the course of the day where it would just sneak up on me and I would crumble.
Then
that hasn't happened.
No, then Dr. Gene here says no, that is not the case. But
Yeah.
you should just listen to Aaron Rodgers. Nick writing in, teaspoon of cayenne pepper and 850 milliliters of water that will open up your blood pathways. Small burn after swallowing.
Okay, so that's what it tastes like?
Yeah, I don't need a small burn.
No. I like spicy though. I like spicy food. I don't know. I think they were trying it on ESPN earlier, and the look that Orlovsky gave the camera was enough for me to be like, yeah, now maybe I'll pass on that one. I got to do something, man, because if I'm sitting here saying I'm not physically able to throw out a first pitch, because I'm nervous that my leg is going to give out or I'm going to.
I don't think I've never seen you throw a ball. Can you throw? Like, there are some guys like, hey, like throw a catch, and then all of a sudden they don't know how to do it. Can you throw a ball? You're looking at me like I'm insulting you.
I can have a catch. I was running patterns with my daughter in the backyard just the other day. We're having a good time. Yeah, I can throw. Okay. I don't have a great arm. I probably have crap form, but I can throw. Could I get it over the plate? Yeah, I think I could probably get it over the plate. Maybe not over the plate, but in the vicinity. Would it look as good as O'Neal? I could probably do what O'Neal did last night. But I would probably crumble because my knee would give out as I'm extending. I'm a little bit nervous about that. The campaigning is over. I don't know that we can do it.
No.
I don't know that we can do it at our advanced age. But, I still tend to believe that for 70, I'm doing okay. We'll get to last call next on the Fan. You can have the final say, 866-4FAN, 585-866-4326. Let you know who's stopping by the sports bar tomorrow afternoon as well next on the Fan.
You're listening. with Danger and Battaglia on the Sports Leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950 The Fan, Rochester.
Last call at 866-4326, 866-4FAN. I don't know, I guess he's like the Beetlejuice of the sports bar. You mention his name enough times. He calls up. What's up, John from Rochester? You role model you.
Hey, guys, I got to tell you, 1988, the Bills clinched the AFC East before Thanksgiving. I think they're going to do it again this year. What are your thoughts?
Well, that would mean the Chiefs game, and that would mean everything would have to go right, meaning Bills 3-0, the Jets 0-3, the Dolphins 0-3, the Patriots 0-3, because they're all in the bye with the exception of the Dolphins at the same time.
There's some winnable games there for Miami and even for the Jets. So I think it's unlikely, but or at least by week 11, which is what we were discussing earlier. By week 11 would be tough.
Week 13 against the Niners? Okay, now you're talking there.
Yeah, but by December, could they have it locked up? And I know Thanksgiving is late this year. Yeah, early December feels about right. And, man, then you start thinking about seeding. Hey, let's get by Miami first this week. Maybe we are getting a little ahead of ourselves, Gino. I don't know. What do you think?
Not at all.
We've called the race,
John.
John.
We've called the race, John. It's over.
They're going to go 8-1, win the AFC and the Super Bowl. They're underway.
There he is.
There we go. Thank you,
John. John in Rochester checking in.
I think we caught him off guard. We were being the positive ones here.
Tomorrow on The Fan, join us again for the Sports Bar starting at 3 o'clock. Dan Fates, 13 Web Sports, BuffaloPlus.com. We'll talk some Buffalo Bills at 3:25. Lee Steinberg, super agent, 4:25 tomorrow. We'll talk trade deadline with a guy who's, he's kind of been behind some of those bigger deals that we've seen through the course of our history as sports fans. So great to have Lee Steinberg back on with us on The Fan Rochester tomorrow afternoon at 4:25.
Yeah, and thank you for listening today here to the Sports Bar.
Yeah, appreciate you checking us out in the free-to-download Odyssey app, our YouTube channel at The Fan Rochester, on Twitch at The Fan Rochester. If you're a podcast listener, just search out the Sports Bar wherever you get your shows. You'll find our guest appearances. Greg Thompson from Cover One broke down the Bills cap situation with us at 4:25 earlier today, and got some winners for you, and not just college and pro football, but tonight's Game 5, the World Series, from PJ Glasser, the host of Send It In on the BetQL Network. You can find those conversations and our entire show wherever you get your podcasts. Again, just search out the Sports Bar, and that includes the free-to-download Odyssey app. We'll talk to you again tomorrow afternoon, starting at 3 o'clock here on The Fan Rochester, and stand by for the JR Sport Brief. He's coming up next.